Okay. Hi, everybody. It's 7:16 and I'm opening up the Sherborn Conservation Commission meeting of July 11th, 2024 with a roll call of who's present on the commission. Michael Lesser present. Jacob.
Jacob Strauss present.
Let's see, Kurt.
Kurt Stiegel present.
Courtney.
Courtney Eck present.
And what do we got there? Where are you at? There you are, Terry.
Terry Luskin present.
Okay, we got 5 of us here. Okay, any issue, any matters that came up in the last 48 hours that we might need to add to the agenda? Hearing none, we will proceed with the agenda as is. Okay, it's 7:17. Okay, we're gonna have a continued public hearing at 7:20. I can't remember if there's anything of 2 minutes worth. Are there any administrative approvals?
No.
Okay. The minutes. For those of you here for discussions, unfortunately, they're going to just be sprinkled in, depending on how the hearings go and how delayed or how quick they are. Okay. Let's see. I don't see anything. You have any site issues, Joyce?
I do not.
Okay. I guess that's good. There's no, I don't see a warrant. I don't have any minutes for this time. I don't have any announcements. There's nothing new on the agent position except a few applicants that we're talking to, but nobody particular with adequate experience at this point, but we'll have to see what the pool looks like. And let's see. And I don't think I have anything to do for a minute and a half here. We'll just wait here. Is the latest, Joyce, is the latest plan for One Pleasant Street? That was just sent this morning. Is that what's in the box?
You're muted, Joy.
No, I just put it in the file. Eric sent one at 3:23 this afternoon. So it's
So I need to refresh to see it.
you need to refresh, and it's
Okay.
it's entitled, it said revised -2 sheet 1 of 2.
Right. Okay. System seems to be a little slow. Okay. Oh yeah, I see it now. Okay, it is 7:20. I am now reopening the public hearing. Oops. I got here. The continued public hearing with the notice of intent on One Pleasant Street to proposal to install a replacement septic system within the wetland buffer zone. Who is here? Who wants to present any of the changes or? Let's see.
When I spoke to Eric today, he said Karen Skinner-Catroni would be here tonight to discuss that.
I thought I saw her, actually. I'm not sure.
Someone
See.
connecting to audio is not yet connected.
Oh, okay.
That's Karen.
Okay, I guess maybe Joyce, you want to, oh yeah, there's 2 people here. Okay, it's 2 screens.
Oh, looks like she's back.
Okay, Karen, you there?
I'm here, yep,
Okay. Do you want to show what's changed or improved and
sure, yes.
yeah.
So as you know, this is a replacement system at 1 Pleasant Street. Um, Eric, the engineer, has been working with Joyce and he's made all the changes that she suggested. He's made the following changes to the plan. Um,
So this is our first meeting, Karen. Why don't you give an overview of what
Oh,
this is?
Oh, yes,
okay, I saw it continued on there and I wasn't sure if I missed something.
no,
It was,
Okay.
yeah, you continued it the last time.
Okay, so the project consists of a septic system replacement. Um, the constraints in the lot are due to the 100-foot well setback. And as I stated, the engineer's been working with Joyce. Joyce had made some suggestions when she received the plan. So we put 10 shrubs in the rear of the system towards the back, yep, on the towards the wetland. There was a sump pump on the site that Joyce had asked to be removed. That's been removed. Rubber bounds have been added to the plan, and erosion control has been added around the cesspool. There's no trees that need to be removed in association with the project, and there'll be no overnight stockpiling. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. That we really there's nowhere else to put it on the lot, and the system currently failing. It's breaking out.
no.
Right, so one of the questions that we had on the site walk was that there was a cesspool back here, and how would they access it? So it looks like you're gonna access it from the driveway.
Yes.
And it extended the erosion control around the backside. I don't know if you mentioned the bounds that he added. He said he
So
added an extra one, but
We added
there's
4 bounds.
1, oh yeah, 2, 3, 4 bounds along the, so we asked for the 4 bounds along the limited lawn. We didn't ask for the sump pump to be removed, but we asked for the discharge that was going directly into the wetlands to be redirected out of the buffer, out of the wetlands. My understanding is that the homeowner has since removed it.
Yes, he has.
Okay,
That's something, okay. I mean, if that's something that they need and they might put back, um,
come and discuss it with us.
yeah.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I don't think it was necessary. They said even with this rain that the basement's been dry,
Oh, okay,
so they don't need it anymore.
right, because they could obviously direct it outside of the buffer zone, so.
Mhm.
Okay, that's something for them to, I think they're here, to note. Okay, does anybody have any questions about this? Is there any, I can't remember from the site visit in the wetlands, whether there's any, oh, or there's gonna be any, there was some cleanup to be done, a little bit around in the, I think some of it was in the wetland area.
So just
Um,
behind the septic system in the wetland area, there's some debris. Some of it's potting debris that can be removed from the wetland area.
Okay, we can have that removed tomorrow.
Yeah, during the process.
Is it large debris? I don't recall.
Yeah, there's just a bunch of, it looked like beekeeping debris.
Okay, we can remove that, or you can put that as a condition, whichever you prefer.
Yep.
yeah.
And then
Go on.
one other question from the sidewalk. It looked like there was an old abandoned, or I assume abandoned, greenhouse type structure further into the wetlands. And or at least I was wondering whether that's something that homeowners would be willing to either remove or clean up as well.
Did you say that the owners were on the call, Joyce?
I see,
Yeah, I see them.
yes. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce the
Yeah.
name. So I see, and
So one of the things, Jacob, what about if we say that, I don't know what they're doing with the now, but that it can't be reconstructed or, you know, if they want to do anything with it going forward, they can't upgrade it, I guess. I'm not sure how to say that properly.
All right, just,
Yeah, that would be fine as well, as long as, or in addition to giving them permission to remove it.
Okay, yep.
okay. And what other conditions, special conditions might we need? If there's any other questions from the commission about this project, they certainly don't seem to have much choice as to where to put this, and this will be a great improvement for the wetlands, just to get the cesspool out of the further back and convert it to a functioning system. I don't
Yeah,
see,
I don't have any conditions listed out because we just got the plan this afternoon, so I think that this would just, I'll add the two, removing the debris from the wetland. I'm gonna talk about the sump pump that because I haven't looked at it, I don't know that it's there, but that any discharge should be removed from the wetlands. And it may in fact be gone. And then just the standard things that we have in an order.
mhm. Yes, given that, so you think we could basically close the hearing and we'll. I guess the question is whether I gather there's some urgency since it's a failed
There is.
system. So I guess, are we prepared to actually then have findings tonight, given that we got this thing at the last minute? But otherwise we'd have to do it in 2 weeks.
So either we do it on the fly tonight, or we prepare it during the week and you vote on it at the next meeting. We can close the hearing and vote on the. I think they probably want to get going. I think there's been a lot of stuff going on with this particular project, and so I think the homeowners are very anxious to get this finished. So, and I think it's simple enough that we can, you know, I can distribute it to people, you know, over the weekend, and we can get it out next week. If you are willing to.
Yeah, no, given the fact that it's a failed septic, that I feel, I don't know how others feel. Normally, we wouldn't necessarily do it this quickly. But given
I feel truthfully, if it seems straightforward to you, Joyce, and I wasn't able to walk the property, but those who did, if you haven't any other direct concerns, is there an advantage to just saying, here are our usual stipulations of conditions, the two that you addressed, and vote tonight? My 2 cents.
Mhm.
I didn't have any other conditions. I was on this site visit and those were my main concerns. What's
Yeah,
already,
I was there too. I think everything, like we've covered everything. That I noticed over there.
Well, looks like we have a majority of the commission. Hopefully Jacob will go along, but
Yep. Well,
okay. Need to move on and given they need it. Okay, then is there anything more to say before we close the hearing?
questions, comments from the butters or the
Yes,
public?
right. Thank you. I keep forgetting that. We have quite a crowd. Is there anybody who has questions or comments on this project? Who's present? He's seeing none, or speak up if I miss your hand. Okay. Then I move to close the hearing on 1 Pleasant Street septic replacement.
second,
Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Michael, I, Terry,
Aye.
Courtney,
I,
Jacob.
Aye.
I,
Okay. How would you like, let's see. We don't have the findings quite ready. I guess I'll For everybody here, this is not normally how we do things. I move that we permit this project with the conditions that we discussed. And because of the benefits of having a replacement functioning septic system over the failed cesspool that's much closer to the wetlands, that it's clearly a benefit to the wetlands to undertake this project with the conditions we discussed and as in the plan that was presented today. Maybe I'll just stop with that. Does that seem adequate, or does anybody want to add anything?
I'll
Okay,
second it.
deal. Any further discussion? Okay, Michael, I, Terry,
Aye.
Courtney,
Aye.
Jacob,
Aye.
Kurt.
Aye.
Okay, we'll try to get something out quickly so this project can move ahead.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Yep,
Right.
you too. Okay. It is 7:33. We are now going to continue. We have reopening the continued hearing about the drafting of Sherborn wetland regulation changes. As we noted on the agenda, this will be continued without discussion to July 25th. What time are we going to do that? What do you think, Joyce? 7:20, 7:30 or 7:20, 7:30
We'll do
again?
7:20 and we can move things around if we need to.
Okay, fine. I guess I move to continue this hearing to July 25th, 2024, I guess, as opposed to 2025, on the agenda, at 7:20 PM.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Michael, I, Terry,
Aye.
Courtney,
Aye.
Jacob,
Aye.
Kurt.
Aye.
Okay, I am now reopening the hearing. The continued public hearing for the notice of intent for 28 Greenwood Street, also known as Lot 2 of 0 Washington Street. A proposal to construct a new single-family home with associated septic, well, and grading, that is, which is in the wetland buffer zone. Okay, we've opened that up. We had discussions last time, and there is a draft notice of intent, order of conditions, excuse me, that we can go over. Why does this thing, well, it doesn't really work. I don't know whether to just simply pull it up and go over a few parts that are the main special conditions and see whether people have questions, both in the audience and the applicant and the commission, since commissioners have not seen all this. Let me get here on to. Mhm. Let me share my screen. Yeah,
I just want to talk, there's a couple of revision, is DeShang here?
Yes.
oh yeah,
Oh,
the
you're here.
plan revisions, right.
Yeah, we were looking to make a couple of revisions on the plan, some minor modifications. If I could share my screen quickly.
Oh yeah, by all means, go ahead. Well, I thought maybe we should go through the conditions first, just to make sure that doesn't lead to, well, we could always come back to them. You
So,
able to share?
so DeShang and Bob revised their plan to reflect the comments from the meeting and the site walks. And one of the things we were looking to do was to tighten, can you see my screen? So
Yes.
we were looking to, I show a line in red here, but really, what we'd like to do is tighten the access around the well. Just to be as tight as we can around that, around that area. And then the only other, thing we were looking to do was to have this limit of lawn line labeled, just labeling it limit of lawn line. those were the only two comments I had. I thought everything
There's,
else.
there's the
was
third
good.
one, an extra monument.
Oh, and one more monument added, as it returns, as the 100-foot buffer returns over on this area here, adding one more monument in this area here.
Yeah, I think that was it. Did we want, was there an issue of, any sort of erosion control to the, I guess I'll call it the right of the access to,
Well, then it would come down. So just for the well access, the line, I can't add it here, but if it
Yeah.
came right down to the inner erosion control line. What we're trying to do is bracket the access around the well access
and just have
with
a,
with erosion control.
or, right, or at least some sort of limit of work so that things don't stray. Does that make sense to, DeShang, Bob?
You know, if you look in our revision, we actually proposed not to alter anything. We took all the grading out and also providing like a private matting to access the drilling. So it's technically not going to have any disturbance. So just to add in a line of erosion control around the access, which is almost parallel to the grading, it's really not going to have much of function, but it could cause some. So we mark this access, just trying to limit as small as possible. Given the drill rig is pretty good size, they may need some flexibility. So if we put in the erosion control there, we know it's not going to be really significant to protect anything. So if we do with, I just feel, yeah, we can add it, but I just feel it's probably a little bit excessive given the modification we did. So we pulled on, if there's a grade in there, I definitely 100% agree, because we pull the grading out and require them to put the plywood matting to even access it.
Well, okay. I mean, right, I'd consider, I don't know what others would think, but whether is a middle ground, that there's some sort of, whether it's just a kind of orange plastic fencing. Not that I like to generate more material, just to have a limit of work. That's clear. During this process.
Michael, I don't object to that. I think it's fine. My only concern when I look at this, Joyce, is that we were thinking that I could see us coming a little bit across that corner of the triangle that you've drawn there. In other words, rather than the well rig leaving well number 3 and going, straight down that, well, it's the green line, I guess, and then making a hard left turn, I was thinking that we'd kind of look for almost the hypotenuse that was going to be the easiest and least, well, easiest is the wrong way to say it, the least destructive way to get in there. That was my only thought. And, we can put I have no objection to bringing the erosion control and or a limit of work in more tightly. That's fine. But I don't want to kind of draw something on a piece of paper that's going to cause us to potentially have to take a more invasive route down to well number 3 from well number 2. That's
We
my
weren't-
thought.
We weren't trying to limit your access, actually, because it was just a straight line. What your erosion control shows is a straight line between the 2 wells. We wanted to limit someone going in and cutting all the trees from within the erosion control barrier. And I understand, like.
Yeah,
having
no.
private
I mean,
access,
that is
but-
absolutely not.
But that's the purpose of erosion, the erosion control also acts as limit of work. And
Well,
so-
okay, so this is what I would say, if it's really access of work, that can be pretty easily moved, much more easily moved than erosion control. And so to the extent our path is just a little bit different from what this allows, we can move that limit of work around, right? And that's pretty easy to do.
Do
Yeah,
we
just
want
as
to-
a
Go ahead.
Mike suggested,
But-
so we
hold on,
use
but-
orange
wait.
fence, which is a little bit more flexible to move around. And as here, we all understand that any trees need to be cut. It's not going to be arbitrary. So anything is marked to be cut will be cut. Otherwise, there will be penalty or whatever. So actually, pre-construction meetings, those trees would be further confirmed. So I don't think that they're going to be arbitrary draw a line and cut all the trees. So
Yeah.
here is definitely not the case as what clear cut, even within the limit of work, as you know, especially between lot 2 and 3 area. So some of the trees is going to be saved, but the erosion control is further down, but the limit of the lawn is further up, almost at the property line. So it's like a little bit subtle compared with like a traditional, or I would say traditional way of doing the project. But here, I think the commission made a really good effort to still allowing us to do whatever needed, but try to eliminate any future damage or impact. So that's why if you look in these layers of the work.
Let me stop you just so we could get to a completion here on this particular point. I could believe that we could try to pull it in like that, as was been discussed, but that may be in the conditioning. We put in some wording about the fact that during the pre-construction meeting, when everything is laid out,
Mhm.
that if a path that has less wetland buffer zone impact is shown,
Sure,
that could be worked out with the agent in the field.
that'd be great. That's
Okay.
perfect.
So we'll get some plan changes, but we'll expand. I don't know, how does that seem to everybody else here on the commission at least? And Joyce,
Yes, I think that works.
other commissioners?
I don't have any issue.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, that works.
Okay. So, let's see, before we get to I guess I don't know how many people are here are there people in the audience who want to comment on this particular notice of intent? You don't have to do it now. I'm just curious to know who's here or whether, that's an issue for some of you. Okay. Then basically we're gonna go, I'm gonna share the screen with the order of conditions so we can look at a few conditions that we could just sort of see if we've all on the same page here. Okay, imagine nobody can see this or read it. Okay, let me make this a little bigger. I assume this is not legible. Let's see here. Okay. Is this something people can read?
Yes.
I don't know, Bob and DeShang, we sent it to you very late because it was just we trying to get through this.
No, I've had a chance to review it, Michael, and I'm good with it.
Okay, so you had no particular issues with it there, okay. Then for the commissioners here, and then also for the audience, you can see here that essentially in this project, in some sense, a lot of the work for the wells is a temporary disturbance that will be restored. There is an area of grading that is related to partly to the septic next door and some sort of diversion of possible runoff. And that area of about, as it says here, about whatever, can't remember how many square feet, I'm having trouble here. Oh, the 1,600 square feet will be replanted so that it will still remain buffer zone, except it'll go through a somewhat of a transformation. But it will stay as unmanaged buffer zone after this project does its planting plan to restore the area. So in some sense, all of the buffer zone area, because the accessed areas to the wells will be abandoned and just let go back natural, so that the buffer zone will essentially remain intact if all the conditions that are here are laid out are met. There'll be some tree cutting, but that'll also be replaced. And it's all in the very outer buffer zone. Therefore, this mitigation would avoid any problems with the wetlands. I'm scrolling down. Did anybody have any issue? The conditions?
Just before I forget, one thing is about the address. I think Bob can confirm, unless the town assigned the 28 Greenwood to this lot, as far as I know.
We have that on the NOI on this order.
Yeah, I guess, Michael, what we can leave it there. It's okay, but Desheng is right that I've stopped using those numbers because the town is in charge of assigning those numbers to the lots. I'm not, and so it's inappropriate for me to decide what's 26 and 28 and 24.
Oh, okay, so that's the part okay, so you're saying that we should just drop
I'm saying, yeah,
Right.
drop the number on Greenwood and just call it lot 2 and lot 3, I think is better, so there's no confusion. I realize I shouldn't have done that originally, and I'd like to reel it back in.
Sure, we will clean that up there. Comments, catch up, no editing. Reviewing. Okay. We will clean that up. Okay, that'll be cleaned up. Members of the commission, I don't know who managed to read this thing, it was prepared only later today. I will highlight, this is just a simple description up front. The special conditions that we deal with is let's see, there's an erosion control, there's a pre-construction meeting.
So I think the pre-construction conditions are unique to this one, and you should go over those.
Yeah, that's well, the most unique one is let's see, all of them. I guess most of them are fairly standard.
Yes, up until the pre-construction.
Yeah, okay. There's a pre-construction meeting, there's no clearing of any activity before, there's the erosion control. Those are fairly standard, it's condition 24 here, whereby once they've staked out everything for erosion control and they've done work and they can mark where all the activity is going to be, that at that point, the applicant will have to submit a planting plan for any of the disturbed areas. And that would cover, as it says here, the area to the wells, as well as the graded area. And there's a specification about some of the minimum density of plantings that would have to go at the herbaceous, shrub, and tree level to handle all of that, as well as doing some invasive removal. This plan will then have to be implemented for people here, and they'll have to go through 2 growing seasons to make sure that it is in a condition further below for the audience that will to make sure that these planting plans are effective in restoring the buffer zone. Does anybody on the commission have any questions about this? Hearing none. These are fairly standard about all the issues about when drilling the well, keeping stuff out of the buffer zone. On this lot, it's a little simpler since the well is right at the edge of the buffer zone. And
Michael,
yeah.
I did have, when you get there, I just had one I did have one issue I want to talk about with you related to the testing of fill. So whenever you get there, let me know. We can talk.
Yes, I was waiting for that.
Yeah, exactly.
And there we are in condition 38. Yes.
So I didn't think what's written here was very clear. And if it means what what I understand the rules to be, I'm fine with it. It's just, it wasn't clear to me. So my issue, as you know, is the testing of fill. I don't object to, you have a rule that says fill needs to be tested in the jurisdictional areas, and I'm just fine with that. But what I like to do is to use fill from the site because obviously when you build a house, you dig you dig a hole to build a house, and you have fill, and that's the fill that I like to use in the jurisdictional area. That way there's no question, and we get out of the testing regime. To the extent we need fill from outside the property to go into the jurisdictional area, we will test it as your rules indicate. But I just wanted to make sure that that's
clarify that it's external fill that we're talking about, I guess is the word that's missing for you.
well, it wasn't clear to me that this wasn't suggesting that we needed to test any fill coming on the property, and that's not what the regulations say, as you and I have talked about this many times. And
What do you mean, when you say any, you mean
well,
any?
it said if you go
on the-
down to
Maybe imported film, 37. And if any imported fill material used
Well-
should be clean fill, I think that.
well, here's the language that I think is problematic. If you go down about 2/3 of the way down, there's a sentence that starts the source of any fill.
Okay, the
The
question
source
is,
of any fill will be made known in writing. So that applies to fill that's going into the jurisdictional area, and we're perfectly comfortable complying with that condition. But it doesn't particularly call out that that's for fill in the jurisdictional area. It just says the source of any fill.
okay, as opposed to the fact that it's the source of any fill used in a jurisdictional area?
Sure, that's perfect.
The
Yes.
first sentence says, oh, I see, because you want to clarify the last sentence, because the first sentence says any fill in jurisdictional areas.
Right, but it's
Okay,
4 or 5
in other words,
sentences.
we don't have to go belabor it.
As long as we're all on the same page, I don't really care.
No,
but
I don't mind adding, I don't, it's a good clarification. Source of any fill. Used. Whoops. Will be used in juris areas. Sure, I got a spelling error, but don't worry about it. We'll clean that up. Okay, are we addressing that issue? Is that okay?
That's great. Thank you, Michael.
We have another edit later on that somebody else caught, that Jacob caught here. I'm gonna clean this up here. Okay, let's get rid of the double negative.
And
Um,
actually, Michael, I kind of have the same issue not that I never use anything on my own lawns or shrubs or anything in terms of fertilizers or pesticides, but your regulations are, and I think what you're trying to say here is that the homeowners can't use any of that in the jurisdictional areas. You're not, again, asking
It says here,
them
it says within the 100-foot buffer zone or wetland areas.
and I don't think it says that down in that, wherever it is, paragraph 45 either.
That's what it says there.
It's there.
That's what it
Ah, okay,
says. So maybe,
my apologies, yep. Reading it too fast.
Sure. Okay, and here, in this part here, there's related to the planting plan, that there's a survivability rate over the 2 years. And there's also the wetland markers that are noted here. Most of the others are fairly standard conditions. And I think first I'll take any questions from the commission. Okay. You can think again. I'll go to the audience here. Does anybody have any questions about this? Order of conditions and how we're conditioning this project? I see a hand raised. Speak forth, Mary iPhone.
Hey, Michael, it's Mary Moore, 49 Farm Road. I just had a question about whether or not the notice of intent included any description of future phases as required in the sort of proposed conditions. I know that we're talking about a single family home here, but there's also 4 lots along this parcel that are being subdivided. And I'm just curious if the Conservation Commission cares about that.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Michael, you want me to answer that, Michael?
Well, I'm asking if the Conservation Commission cares about it.
Well,
Yeah.
but I want to explain something to everyone listening, and that is that we're here tonight to talk about a notice of intent on Lot 2 and Lot 3, and Lot 1 and Lot 4 were not in jurisdiction at all, and that's been signed off on by the Conservation Commission through an administrative approval on both Lot 1 and Lot 4. So there's nothing else going on. That's it. What we're talking about tonight is all the jurisdictional work.
I know, but in the bylaws, the local bylaws, Michael, if I could, it does say that there's a description requested of all the additional phases and work that's happening. It may not impact what you put into this order of conditions, but I think it's something that's necessary to paint a full picture, even if it's not under jurisdiction.
I think that wording pertains to when you have a lot, a single lot, that will maybe have some additional work done on it. This lot 2 will not have any additional work on it. This is all of the work on lot 2. In our capacity, we generally have to, it's not our business to see whether lots are established or not established. That's the responsibility of in a sense, the building department and other parts of the town, whether the lines that he's given us, I don't know if have they been recorded? Have these lots all been fully recorded?
No, I have a draft ANR that I've shared with the planning board, Michael, and
Right.
I anticipate it'll be recorded toward the end of July.
If any changes happen in the property lines, they'd have to come back to us.
So would there be an order of condition that's suggested if there was some significant, alteration of the property lines, that would be considered a significant change?
Not sure it would be a significant.
Or you'd have to review it to determine what it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he
I
would
think
have
it
to
says
review
any
it.
changes to the plan have to be reviewed.
Yes, we have that language. It's standard language for all of our orders of condition. That
And we're happy to comply with that, Michael.
in general, if any property lines change, they have to come back to us. To see.
Okay,
what we
thank you.
recommend. Okay, DeShang,
I just want to clarify for the additional wetland monument, and I think probably a little bit confused. We have a 125-foot buffer zone on it, which is outside of jurisdiction. So we already have enough. Monument Mark 1 is set at the 100-foot buffer line. The ones we put the limit of the lawn was at 125. That corner you want to put an additional one, maybe it could be if you're looking on the plan. So the one we talked about, that's 125 foot. So there's no really in the jurisdiction. So that's already the limit of the lawn. And the limit of the lawn is labeled on the line that you close to the lower left corner, says limit of lawn.
we had asked, yeah, I think you misunderstood where we put it. We're putting it, asking it on the 100-foot buffer zone.
Yeah, we have one already there. So
No, you don't have, you have it by the well, but you don't have one between the well and the property line heading down on the plan. I can't, that's probably.
yes, there's one if you
Oh, you know something, the red line goes through
I think,
bound
yeah,
number 1.
right.
Oh,
Yep, so
Yeah,
there,
it was there.
it's hidden underneath.
Right.
okay.
I think, yeah, the line, I think it
We
probably.
will adjust it. Okay, point taken.
Yeah, we don't have to add it. So I think that the one with the 8
Okay, we
monument.
will adjust it. You don't have to go further on it. We have to. Get to the
Okay.
next vote.
Yeah, I just want to point that out.
No, it's, thank you. We will see that it's there.
And not to
Okay.
belabor this, but I can't see where it says, I mean, I apologize, I cannot see where it says limit of lawn.
It's in the front at that rain garden up there, so just the lower
You can
left
discuss,
corner of the leaching field.
Okay, yeah, but I'm looking, yeah, so I think that also, if you can add it onto the back line, because it's hard to tell what that means. I see it now.
Yeah, it's the same style of lines if you see.
Right,
it's a
so if you
double
just
line.
add it along the 100-foot buffer, just for making
Sure,
it
sure,
clear.
yeah, we can add it, yeah, that's all. I just don't want to be too overcrowded that. We could even take it, put
Okay.
it.
I think we're all on the same page on this one, as I want to move this along. Okay, are there any other questions from anybody on the commission or in the audience? Okay, because I'm about to move to close the hearing. Okay, I move to close the hearing on lot 2 of 0 Washington Street for the construction of a new home.
Try that again.
Lot, oh, this is lot. Which lot are we in here?
You said Washington Street.
Yeah, because that's what it's called.
Oh, okay. Right.
So it should be called Lot 2 Greenwood Street, I think.
Is that what it is? I
Well,
don't
the 0 Washington Street is the entire property.
Right.
And this is
Okay.
Lot 2 Greenwood.
Is that what it is?
I'll go back
Okay.
and change, I'll go back and redefine that.
Oh, okay, fine. Now I see the difference. Okay, it changed from before. Or I extrapolated. Okay. I take back the other one. I move to close the hearing for the construction of a new home on lot 2 of Greenwood Street.
Second.
Any further discussion by anybody? Okay, roll call vote. Michael, let's see here, hold on, stop here. Michael, I, Terry,
Aye.
okay, Kurt,
Aye.
Jacob,
Aye.
Courtney,
Aye.
I think I got you all. In the maze of things, okay. I move that the findings of this hearing are that the proposed project on a little over 2 acres for the single-family home construction and related work is permitted if it follows all of the conditions as laid out in the order of conditions, which will protect the wetlands from any adverse impacts and restore the buffer zone to its functional value as it is today. How's that?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, seeing none. Okay, roll call vote. Michael, I, Terry,
Aye.
Courtney,
Aye.
Jacob,
Aye.
and Kurt.
Aye.
Okay. That hearing is opened and closed. Now we can move on to the next hearing we have here. Which is, I am now, okay, the agenda is listed a little strangely then. Wow, we are behind schedule. Sorry, everybody. Okay, we now are reopening the continued public hearing for the notice of intent for lot 3 Greenwood Street to construct a new single-family home and associated septic, well, and grading. And we open that up. Let's see. Let's go. Do you have plan issues you want to go through, Joyce, first? Or I guess I'd open
I
it up.
didn't really have any, just that same limit of lawn comment. That was all I had.
Okay, I'm gonna put up the plan here for a minute. Just to go over what's going on here. Okay, there we go. everybody.
And I can hear too, but that's.
Okay. I guess there was, I wanted to bring up the issue of whether there's any further options for moving the water line out of the buffer zone. I saw that there was an email about curving it right up here to get it straight out of the buffer zone. I subsequently also, there seems to be some issues about whether such running the water line through the grading could be done, or it could be done.
Yeah, Michael, so that drawing that you're referring to is a drawing that I, in my enthusiasm for moving things out of the buffer zone, I sent. And I was hopeful that we could do that. Deshang has opined that that is not possible to run it through that fairly steep grade, newly graded area, and that it would be, inadvisable to do that. We've also got a 50-foot setback to the septic field that we're fighting there as well. So the answer is we've engineered that to be as much out of the buffer zone as is possible. And that's, unfortunately, or not unfortunately, it is, we spent a lot of time engineering it to be as in the least invasive place possible. But it was my drawing, not Deshang's.
Why not? I
not
see
aware
you
of
guys
it.
as a package.
And then there's two, yeah, I think Bob, but definitely, so if you look at it, it's we're trying to save the trees also, and then plus the 50-foot the setback from, you see the line we put it there, it's also will go right through trees.
This
we're trying
line
to
here is
save.
the line of the 55, I see what you're saying.
Right, and then there's a tree there to be saved, so, and we were just trying to, all the, the trees, we're trying to save, we find a place we don't have the trees. It's only very narrow temporary, we feel it's better off where we draw, rather than cut trees and then mitigate trees with just a few, less than 10 feet of, gain.
Okay, point taken. We will pursue that a little further. This is lot 3. The order of conditions for lot 3. So I guess we're gonna have to get, I wasn't sure what the exact, what's the width of that? Is it 5 feet? The width of, I thought, what's the width of your area for the
Water line,
for the water line?
10 feet. I mean, if you need to get a machine to, we all see that boulders, 5 feet, and it's not going to have a machine, maybe one of the days we can have that strong
Okay,
machine.
I saw different numbers in your things here.
I would use 10, Michael.
And is it still the 200 feet from that's?
Probably about 51, I can probably
Okay,
measure it out.
we'll get that filled in afterwards. Okay. Okay, for the commissioners and then for the audience, this is the draft order of conditions. Basically, there'll be this this work here and the work along here to put in the well line will be temporary and then restored. Buffer zone will be and restored. The septic system work here, this area of grading related to the septic is where that'll be, again, have to be graded, and that will also be replanted. So this will be akin to the last project. There'll be a planting plan for this area that'll have to be approved beforehand. Once everything's marked out in the field. And that will also be returned as unmanaged buffer zone, so that in the end, all of the disturbance in the buffer zone will be restored or replanted. Okay.
That
Uh,
length is a 361 feet plus or minus, so the length isn't.
It's all right. I use the word about often. Okay. Okay. We have. Okay, I don't know if commissioners had, before we go on, again, these are the same standard conditions that we talked about through the last one and in general. I'm going down to the more special conditions.
Michael, the same typo exists in the fertilizer one when you
Yeah,
get
I
there.
know, I'm just gonna get there. Okay, this is the, again, here's the condition about having a planting plan for the graded areas. As well as then there's also a plan, a restoration planting plan that'll do the access path to the well and around the well and restoration of the water line disturbances. And so there'll be, in a sense, sort of like two types of plans that will be put forth for our approval when they've staked everything out and we can see what's going on and what specific trees, and confirm all the trees that will be removed. And so there's conditions about the density of the planting. And then there's also about doing some mitigation for the trees. We'll have to see. We want a minimum mitigation that we'll have to see how the plans evolve, what it looks like in the field, as what's the best mix of trees and shrubs that there, but there'll be mitigation for the 16 cut trees. 16 removed. I think those are the alive trees.
Live, yes.
Live. Guess I should use the term live.
All is live, 60 is total.
What?
Only 12 is live trees, 16 is total.
Okay.
Then you need to repair what's up at the very beginning, because it said,
Did I use
Trees.
live? And dead, dying. We'll go fix that up later. Okay. Does anybody have any issue with this condition or suggestions? Moving on to the other more specialized ones here. And again, we've added something a little newer just to make sure that the construction, the path, there's no compaction in the path. And that's when we talked about the plywood and other measures there for the drilling equipment. Let's see here. Mitigation part again is the only other.
to
Same.
Jacob's point 46.
Any issues with the mitigation section?
Can I express a small non-attorney preference to keep no fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, and remove the not on the verb rather than taking the no fertilizer? That looks more to me, to the casual reader, like permission for fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides.
I can go with that. We can ask our lawyer.
Yes, indeed.
But I guess I see what you mean. It's a little more direct. Okay,
And Michael, did we deal with the fill issue that we edited on the last one?
I'll make the same edits on this one as
Great.
the other.
yeah,
you,
I'm
Joyce.
gonna be saving these two files anyway.
Thank
so
you.
It's automatically being saved. So you feel to be using. Okay, thank you. Any comments on the mitigation? Are there any comments from the audience on any aspects of this project and the order of conditions or questions? don't see everybody, so speak up. If you have something to ask or say. Okay. Okay, coming back to us. Any other issues before we close the hearing? Okay. I move to close the hearing on lot 3 of Greenwood Street, the construction of a new home.
Terry, I second.
Okay, sharing here. Okay, any further discussion? Roll call vote, Michael, I, Terry,
Aye.
Jacob,
Hi.
Aye.
Courtney. Oops, Courtney had to,
I wonder if she had to step away.
yeah, she's doing some care for someone. Okay. We have 4-0 vote. Okay, hearing is closed. I will now move into the last one. I'll move the proposed project on a approximately 2-acre lot for the construction of a new home and related septic and other issues. Will be permitted if all of the conditions as discussed in the draft, in the order, are complied with. And that includes the restoration of all disturbed areas in the buffer zone, such that they will return to their full functionality as a buffer zone for the wetland, and therefore no adverse impact on the wetlands.
Can I mention for lot 3 Greenwood?
Yes, I accept the friendly amendment. Did anybody second?
I will second.
Any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Michael, I, Terry,
Aye.
Jacob. Kurt, in the meanwhile,
Aye.
Jacob.
Hi.
Oh, okay. Jacob has cloned himself. Okay. We will get this out to you. We are done. I know we have another discussion with you, but since we're behind on the hearings, you'll have to wait so there are further discussions, Bob.
Thank you all very much for working through this with us. We appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's see now, going back to, where are we here? Whoops, in the wrong place here. Where did I lose my agenda? Oh, there it is. Just looking for my agenda. Okay. We're now going to have a new hearing for 81 Prospect. Sorry, everybody, we're significantly behind schedule. Let's see. Okay. Sorry, computer's a little slow here. What's going on? Wow. The legal notice is blank, or it's taking forever to load. Okay. I'll try to remember. I hereby are opening a hearing for a request for determination of applicability for Sherborn file RDA 2416 for 81 Prospect Street, map 5, lot 72. Proposal to install a septic system replacement within the wetland buffer zone. This will be heard under the State Wetlands Protection Act and under the Sherborn Wetlands Bylaw and all of their regulations. All people wanting to be heard will be heard at this hearing. The filing is available at the Conservation Commission office. Okay. I think I covered enough of it there. We have the hearing open. Take it away. Who's presenting?
Dan McIntyre representing the property owners.
Okay,
Sharing the screen here. Can everyone see that come up on the screen?
oops.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, good. So for the record, Dan McIntyre representing the property owners of 81 Prospect Street. They are in the process of replacing their septic system for the sale of the home. To orientate you, we've got Prospect Street up at the top of the screen. Driveway comes in. The house is right here, built in the 1950s. The existing septic tank is right here. And there are a couple of leach pits right here in the backyard. The well is further back into the back part of the property. We had the wetlands delineated by Goddard Consulting, as you can see over on the right-hand side. And then we have the 50-foot buffer and 100-foot buffer that extends out to the backyard. So the constraints we have are obviously the wetland buffers. We've got the well offset from 85 Prospect. We've got the well offset from the on-site well. So basically putting it back right into the backyard. The entire area is previously disturbed. It's lawn there now. So we're proposing to put in a new septic tank where the existing tank is, and so we can tie into the existing plumbing. It's going to be a mounted system because of groundwater conditions. So we're going to have a pump tank, which will pump it up to the distribution box. And we've got 4 leaching trenches throughout here. We're proposing silt fence erosion controls here, as well as over here. And all construction access is going to be coming down the driveway through a cart path here, which is good access for all the construction vehicles to set the tank and build the system. We are proposing 5 wetland markers along the edge of the wetlands here. And in addition to the erosion controls, we're going to be putting down erosion control matting on the slope here to minimize the potential for any washouts or erosion toward the wetlands. As I said, it's all previously disturbed and it'll be restored to its existing condition as lawn. With that, I think I can turn it over for questions.
where is the current lawn extend to?
Just about down to the wetlands. There's a cart path that comes off a Prospect here, which is the access to the lower barn, where they store their farm tractors. So we're proposing to kind of put the markers along that cart path here to prevent any further extension of the lawn in toward the wetlands.
Mhm. Is the area between the wetlands and the bounds, what's the condition of that now?
Let me see if I can get you a picture of that.
I mean, I just wanted to know whether it's currently altered or it's.
Oh, it's all currently altered, yeah. yeah.
So that would be left to go back. I'm just trying to get whether that's left to go back.
Yeah, I don't have any pictures of that, but yeah, it's like I say, there's a cart path in here that's historically been used to access the lower barn for the farm tractors. The tree line is pretty much the edge of the wetland.
Yeah, all I'm getting at is whether the area between the monuments and the buffer zone, which would be nice if it's going to be, how it's going to be managed, so that whether we actually have a more of a vegetated buffer to the
I think
wetlands.
we will. We're pushing these out, 15, maybe 20 feet to probably closer to 15 feet out from the wetland in this area here, just so they can still have access to the lower barn. But this area in here, which I think has been disturbed in the past, would become, you know, a no mow area or no disturb area on the other side of the bound, between the bounds and the wetlands.
Okay, I mean, it's clearly the septic system will be an improvement over the little leaching pits there, and and that extra buffer zone there is also a significant plus for that. I don't have I'll open up. Does anybody else have any questions about this project? Joyce?
No, I thought it was very straightforward. I didn't have any, I took some of our standard conditions off, even. I'll add the no mow between the bound and the wetlands.
Okay, and the monuments. Okay, anybody on the commission have any questions?
No trees down?
No, no tree removals at all.
Any other? You can also still come in later. Anybody in the audience want to make questions or comments about this project? Okay. Coming back to the commission, any other questions before I make a motion? Okay, I move that we approve this project as a -3 with the conditions of the monuments, the no mow area, and our standard ones about where vehicles are parked and refueled as such. So that's, are there any other special conditions, Joyce, beside that?
No,
Okay.
none other.
Okay, that's the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, Michael, I, Jacob,
Aye.
Kurt,
Aye.
Courtney,
Aye.
Terry.
Aye.
Okay. We'll get that out. Okay.
Very much.
One more down. Okay, we will now have our, now we're only 40 minutes behind. Okay, we now have, let's see if I can get the right thing here. Next one here. And there we go. Okay. Notice is hereby given that the Conservation Commission of the town of Sherborn will hold a virtual public hearing using Zoom technology at now 8:30 on the 11th day of July 2024. The request to amend the existing order of conditions hearing will be held pursuant to Chapter 131, Section 40 of the General Laws as amended, the Wetlands Protection Act, and the Sherborn Wetlands Bylaw, I think still Chapter 17, to consider a proposal by the applicant's representative, Patrick Garner Company, Inc., for work related to shifting the location of the wetland restoration area at 3 Old Field Drive, map 2, lots 39 and 38 and 39. This application's available for viewing at the Sherborn Conservation Office. All persons desiring to be heard will be given the opportunity to speak at this hearing. We have all the green cards and everything else, all the administrative stuff. Joyce?
Yes.
Okay. I see Patrick is here. It's been a while. We just got some stuff recently. Do you want to present?
I do. Good evening, Michael. It's been a while since I have seen your face. So
Yes, likewise.
good to be here. Yeah, so as a brief summary, 3 Oldfield Drive had a horse paddock that had wetlands in it. The wetlands were inadvertently filled. We're going back into 2019. Sometime in 2021, the commission issued an order of conditions requiring restoration of a little more than 10,000 square feet. The order of conditions that was issued was the result of a lengthy series of hearings. We did all sorts of analysis. Those of you who were on board at the time remember probably too well. And I'm sure that when you saw our face, you kind of went, "Oh no, they're back again." But the background is that the restoration was never built based on the COVID tolling issued by the governor. The restoration needs to take place by sometime mid 2025. So we're still within a window to allow us to talk about this. And the application tonight is essentially to ask the commission to amend the order of conditions to allow the restoration essentially in a different location on the same site in the same paddock. And it's probably easiest at this point, Michael, if I could share my screen and go back and forth between the old plan and the new plan and sort of talk around it.
By all means.
Okay. So if I have that power, let me try and get it up here. Okay, can you guys see that?
Yep, I
Yes.
want to be in the other place. Okay, yes.
Okay, so this is the plan that you based your February 2021 order of conditions on. And essentially, it's going to look complicated, but it really is not too complicated. This is Harrington Ridge Road, and it's at the intersection of Harrington and Oldfield. And this parcel right here is a paddock. And when Robin Stahl purchased this overall property in 2019, I believe it was, there was a wet, boggy area right in the section here. And she hired a contractor who came in and brought some fill in and filled it and turned the whole thing into an upland horse paddock. The commission received a complaint through a fairly lengthy process. My firm participated in filing a notice of intent to remedy it. And what we essentially did was propose a stream, a little intermittent stream right here, bordered by wetlands on either side. And the rationale for that at the time was that this little pipe right here that says existing 4-inch iron pipe is the sole source for the hydrology on the site. So in the spring, particularly probably about 4 to 5, maybe 6 weeks, depending on what a spring we have, this pipe flows and it flushes water into this area, which then flushes eventually down to a ditch here. The ditch terminates at a little cross pipe culvert here, which then flows under Harrington Ridge Road and across the street. So that's sort of the hydrological pattern here. And if we are going to go back maybe 30 or 40 years before Robin acquired it, the flow coming out of this iron pipe was picked up by clay tiles that ran under here and flushed out to Harrington Ridge Road. And those were probably, we guessed, installed in the 1950s. They could have been earlier, but at some point they failed. They weren't cleaned out. They weren't maintained. And so the water no longer flowed through the tiles. It sort of just flushed out and saturated the ground through this whole section. The contractor who was hired in 2019 and 2020 to do the work through here installed a 4-inch PVC pipe that intercepted the flow coming out of her abutter's property, ran it all the way down in a straight line to the pipe here. So that's sort of the background on what the existing conditions were and then what the new property owner did inadvertently and what we had proposed at the time to sort of remedy the lost wetlands. We had estimated, based on flagging that ran through this section here, that the fill amounted to 10,413 square feet. So it was fairly substantial. As I noted, the replication has not been built, and part of the reason was that both Robin and I have sort of worried about the success of this were she to build it as it was approved. And I'll sort of go into a little bit of detail to show you what the worry was. First of all, the pipe itself flows only in the spring under high groundwater conditions. For instance, when I went out on the site a month or two ago, it was dry, it's dry, and it's dried through most of the winter. So consequently, if this were to be built with bordering wetlands, as we had proposed along this intermittent stream, there would be questionable hydrology. And of course, you guys know that for wetland vegetation to thrive and flourish, it needs that saturation. Further complicating it, we have an elevation down here on Harrington Ridge of about 92. And by the time we get up and intercept this iron pipe up in here, we're over 98. So there's a 6 foot, more than a 6 foot elevation rise from the low point to the high point, which also makes any kind of replication very difficult. Replications are always most successful when they can be in a fairly flat terrain in a low spot. So my concern as the wetland scientist, and I guess I'll take some of the bullet on this because I was involved in this initial design, was that Robin Saw would build this, and she's prepared to do so, but that she would build this, and then because of the hydrologic conditions, the wetland planting would not thrive or even meet I think it's a 75% threshold. And she'd be constantly trying to replant that. So Robin and I had been talking on and off, and her question to me was basically, do we have any other alternative? So a few months ago, we began playing with alternative ideas. Now, remember, this is our high point way up here with an elevation of 98. This is our low point down here with an elevation of 92 at the juncture of Harrington Ridge. So I redesigned this, and the redesign looks like this. Well, we did, this is that high point right here with the iron pipe and the existing 4-inch PVC pipe. And what I proposed was not to sort of create this upper rising wetland, but to put it all down in this low point down in the bottom of the paddock. The elevations, as you can see now, are, this is 93. So we have a 92 elevation that's proposed that goes all the way around here and basically mimics and echoes the elevation of the existing wetland right down in the section. So this would require an excavation of 2 to 3 feet through this section to get down to a point where we had hydrology at 12 to 18 inches below the excavated surface. The amount of wetland we're proposing is slightly more than what the order of conditions required in 2021. I say slightly more by 100 square feet. So it's not substantial, but it's larger. And the proposal would be to, one, the excavated area would have year-round hydrologic conditions that were far more favorable than the proposal to drive it up this channel. Secondly, the PVC pipe would be left in place and then chopped off right at this point, daylighted, and allowed to flush into this new replication area. So we wouldn't be creating any further disturbance. What we'd be doing is shifting the replication into an area that's far more likely to be successful and allow us, during the period of time that the commission holds the property owner to a successful replication percentage to actually being able to meet that without sort of homeowner grief. So that's the story in a nutshell. Again, I think that's a pretty good picture of what we're talking about here. Let me get back to this. There we are. And I will be happy to leave this up and take any questions from anyone. And if I've lost you, please let me know. I'd be happy to go back over anything I've said.
Okay, thank you. That was fairly clear. Yes, I do remember the back and forth and around the world that we did years ago about trying to get to this point. Okay, Joyce, why don't you go, and then Terry.
Patrick, my understanding from reading the regulations, and I've only researched this just now because you brought up the date, the COVID Extension Act is only valid for permits that were issued before March 10th, 2020.
Okay, so Joyce, I have not done this research myself personally.
So
Robin
I'm not
worked-
trying to stop anything now, but I think let's go through this and we'll have to review it because before we go any
Yeah,
close anything.
absolutely. Yeah, so
Okay.
Robin, before she contacted me with Greg McGregor, and she was specifically working with Nathaniel Stevens with Greg's firm. And Nathaniel gave her that legal advice on the timing on this. So I suspect it's accurate. That's not something that I have, tried to corroborate. But Nathaniel's a
So
detail
I'm
guy.
looking at, and I'm looking at Gregor and McGregor's. They made a little calculation sheet, which I also brought up. And right on their calculation sheet, it says it's valid for permits issued before 3/10/2020. So that's something we need to look into. That's all.
Okay,
Do we
okay.
have
Because-
time?
Outside of my expertise, I'm here as a wetland scientist and not, not the legal.
So that means we might have to do an extension as in
No,
addition.
we can't. It's
Okay.
it's expired.
Oh, it's already
So you're
expired.
saying, Joyce, that it's possibly expired. Okay,
I think it expired. Yeah.
interesting. Okay, well, we were acting on,
Yeah,
So
yeah, because I
we
was
can
part of the
confirm
conference
that.
call.
we'll work on
Yeah,
that.
I was.
Yeah,
Let's
we-
work on the
Conference call.
technical stuff today, but we'll have to.
Yeah.
offline, you can sort out what the
The
next.
worst case is it would take another step or two. That's all.
Right,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, I was gonna say it's procedural more than technical.
Right,
but-
exactly. Let's move on
Yep.
for the technical stuff. Do you have any technical issues, Joyce, or questions? Before I
Not
go-
at this moment, no.
Okay, Terry?
Because I was not part of the original conversations, I wonder if, Patrick, you could speak to the status of that outlet pipe that goes near the letter R of Ridge and under Harrington Ridge Road, what will become of that pipe?
Yeah, sure. We're not changing the existing flow of any kind. What's come off the site has always come off the site. It will continue to come off. That we're not increasing or decreasing. This is not one of those issues of pre and post development flow. And what if we jump back decades, as I noted, there was a clay tile pipe system that ran under here and ran into this culvert right here under Harrington Ridge. There's a catch basin and a catch basin. This culvert flows into the catch basin here, flows under, and then exits and goes down the road. So what this proposal would do essentially would be to take the replacement 4-inch PVC pipe that comes under here, chop it off at the point where it intercepted the new replication area, and simply allow the water to flow into this new replication and then out again. So I think, other than creating a wetland in sort of a more logical location that has both seasonal high groundwater that's at the right elevation, as well as being on the low spot on the paddock, it doesn't really change flows of any kind.
And
If
if I
that
can,
makes sense.
it does make sense. I was a little in the dark about sort of those earlier conversations. I'm also wondering whether those low spaces near Harrington Ridge Road, is that actually wetland, or are we really saying this is an extensive rain garden we're making with seasonal
No,
water flowing
it
in?
really is well, and yeah. So see the points right here, A4, A4, A3. They border a vegetated ditch that runs down Harrington. It terminates about here, but it goes all the way through here. And that then spills out into this culvert. And that was decided, that was a BVW that the commission approved back in 2021.
Okay, no, because I didn't see any other sort of on the outer perimeter going up what was uphill. I didn't seem to see any markers there. So, okay, it's really
Okay,
right
so
by the road. Thank you for
you can
that.
see them here, and you can also see them here. They're
Ah,
marked
okay.
old.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was
and we
looking
did.
kind of at your red perimeter.
Yeah, not to muddy the water here. Bad analogy, but not to muddy things. Um, this was something that we spent a lot of time talking about in the hearing because this was a filled site. It was difficult to precisely determine the wetland edge. We went backwards through about 30 years of historic aerial photos, and it was quite clear that there was wetland in here, but the photos varied all over the board. Some of them were just black and white, clear as a bell. Others were far more ambiguous, so it was a little hard to tell. So I went out with a backhoe in this whole paddock area, and we did 10 or 11 or 12 deep holes with the
Right.
backhoe trying
Looked at
to,
the soil.
yeah,
Got it. Got it.
yeah.
I
So
don't feel
we
you
had,
have
we
to
had
reiterate the whole thing for me. I'm so sorry to make you feel like you're
no, that's
telling
okay.
tales, but
Yeah, for those who are here, it's probably like, oh no, he's back again, you know. But I get it if you weren't.
thanks so much.
Jacob,
I guess I have a couple questions. So I wasn't in the prior round, obviously. So I wonder if it would make sense for a quick site visit at some point, just to get a visualize what the area looks like. But in addition to that, for the outflow from the PVC pipe, would you need anything there to prevent it creating a channel through the replication area? Something, or is that? I guess would that be needed or not? Is one question.
Well, I don't think it would be. It's a good question. I mean, essentially, it would be hitting a flat elevation of 92. And so it's going to, the water coming out of it is going to tend to pond more than flow. There's going to be very little velocity outside of the opening on the pipe itself. I'm always hesitant to try to rip wrap anything that's in a wetland area itself to try and slow down velocity. We're perfectly open to anything that you might suggest, but I think it would function just daylighted and allowed to flow and saturate into that area.
Okay.
you can always have a condition.
Another possibility since you raise the issue would be to have a special condition that said that area should be monitored for any channelization,
Exactly.
and that
We
a
would have
remedy
that.
could be. Yeah, I tend to think it would simply function as intended.
Okay, that seems reasonable. And then the next question I have is I wasn't sure what you were proposing in terms of planting in the replication area. Is that different from whatever the prior round was, or I assume it would have to
Planted
be.
schematic right here.
Oh.
Yep, and putting We have a few more because the square footage has increased slightly, we
Oh, I see
beefed up the bushes, a small factor, but yeah, you can see we're proposing speckled alder, dogwood, winterberry, spicebush, maleberry. Quantities are here.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Total 70 shrubs. We've dimensioned the replication area, so it can actually be constructed as proposed. Yeah,
Joyce? Oh, are you finished, Jacob? Sorry.
And I guess, and in the replication area, so the idea is to remove the fill that's there now, or is the
correct.
okay? That's all for me. Thank you.
Okay.
Joyce?
I didn't say so in my presentation, but you can see this red line going around the replication area. That would be.
That was my question. Does it have to be so close to the edge of the replication area? Can it be out?
You're saying
Because we
wood
wouldn't have
barrier?
it that close to a wetland. Is it possible to give a little bit more of a buffer?
Yeah,
Whether
it
it's
could be
5 or
pulled
10
back.
feet out from the edge.
Yeah, it could be pulled back 5 or 10 feet. I don't think that's a big deal.
All right, and the other one was, would it be helpful to show the commission members who were not at the previous meeting, what the previous approved plan looked like?
Yeah, that was what I showed initially.
That was the first thing.
Oh, you did? Okay, I apologize.
You
I
already
missed
showed that, yeah.
Thanks, sorry
Yeah,
about
that
that.
was the one that showed the channel and the bordering vegetated wetland that went all the way up to that iron pipe.
Right.
Okay,
And Joyce, you know that when you try to replicate and you're going uphill with a replication, it's a challenge.
Understood.
any other questions from people? I guess I'll speak while people think. Yes, having been through the first round of all of this, I think this is an improvement for all the reasons you said.
Okay.
And especially, and also, I particularly want to second. A little thing is the Joyce's comment about a little bit more of a buffer zone around the wetland with the fence and because this will be used as a pasture. With horses, I assume, is that what's going to be?
Yeah, I'm sure it will. Yeah, I'm sure it will be. Yeah.
Right, I'm just concerned about the runoff from the pasturing and any and if any bare spots are created. I guess since this is a wetland, I think we had it in the last one where some of the other conditions were that in the buffer zone to this kind of wetland, that any bare spots of grass and such would be that were used in the pasture would be quickly replanted so that we had a better infiltration aspect of even if it's used as pasture. And I guess, but right, in general, it seems better, and I guess you'll have to, wetland replication's tricky and no matter what. And I guess see how it goes. And how you'll be adapting when you do that.
Okay. Michael, I would say too, it's sort of goes back to Jacob's comment about doing a possible site visit. If you choose to do so, you'll see that the entire pasture is heavily grassed at this point. There are no bare spots. It's grazed, it's cut. It's extremely well manicured. It's so lush.
We hadn't had the condition anyway. I think we had it back then, but
yeah,
I appreciate that it probably will be maintained that way because that's what a good pasture would be anyway.
Right, exactly.
Just for a second, stepping back procedurally, I guess I would say from my point of view that I think this is an acceptable direction. This new plan. And maybe there's a few little things that we've talked about tonight, but and maybe we'd have to look a little more closely at the planting and such plan. But moving forward, we have to sort out the issue of how the permitting is done, given the whether it's expired or not. So we'll
Correct.
have to continue this hearing anyway. And I guess we could, and since we got this recently, we'll give you some comments before the next hearing about anything that when we start looking at this a little more closely. But I would say, and I'd like to hear what other commission members think, that my view is that this is a maybe acceptable new direction, with maybe some refinements. I don't know to other people, and this would be an improvement. in terms
Yeah,
of-
I happened to be there for the
Yeah.
previous one as well. So I agree with what Michael said. Your logic makes sense to me. This looks like a good plan, and I think what Michael said about we can just give you some feedback and any details to work out while we figure out how it needs to be permitted.
No,
But
I
I'm-
think that's fine. We can
Yeah.
amend the map to pull the proposed wood fence back and create a little bit more of a buffer. And it's possible that Robin herself will reach out to McGregor's firm and try and get a clarification on the date.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
they're a good firm, so
Yeah,
you'd like to think that they would get it right. And such.
I've worked for years with Nathaniel, and he tends to be very precise. So if he said it's good until sometime in 2025, I didn't question it, but since Joyce has brought it up, I think we need to backtrack and
Right, oh, yeah,
and
well,
figure it out.
definitely that's to be done. But in terms of this being the
Okay.
okay direction, do other commissioners feel comfortable with this direction here?
I mean, yeah, based on the description and then the plan, it looks like it's more likely to succeed than the prior one. So I think that sounds like a good direction.
Okay,
Does anybody want a site walk?
I wouldn't mind one, but it's right next to the road, so I can also just go look at it pretty quickly myself if that's easier. I don't see a reason to walk around it.
see anybody else? Terry, I guess I can ask.
I would be happy to park by the side of the road and go have a look.
Okay,
Looks as though, given the sort of the topography, that you'll be looking uphill anyway from the road. So
right, and plus they're gonna be redoing that topography right down there to make it more likely to succeed. So, but yeah, okay, we will let you know if we need a site walk, but we'll see if people are satisfied with that.
Patrick, is it possible to walk within the fence limit, or are there wild animals caged in there?
No, that the only thing that sort of makes it difficult to walk in is that Robin has run sort of clear. She'd be better at describing exactly what they are, but to keep geese out, many of the owners in the area have run these sort of plastic lines in rows down through the grass, and that apparently keeps the geese or discourages them from coming in and pooping and doing all the things the geese do. I think you can still walk through there if you were so inclined. You just have to be careful and be aware that you might run into these. The great thing about this is that it's grass. It's not wooded. You can literally park right on the road, look in, and you've seen it. That's not to say that if you want to, drill down deeper and walk around inside it, you can't. But you'd want to coordinate with Robin and knock on her door and let her know you're coming and that kind of thing. But we're perfectly.
I just might like to see the pipe at the top of the paddock.
Okay.
That's all.
Yep. In that case, you probably want to have me or Robin walk out there with you because there's no flow. It's difficult to see the pipe. It's if you're lucky and you're out there on April 15th and it's flowing, you can find it, but otherwise it's pretty obscure.
Okay, well, maybe we will make it as a formal site visit. Because there's a few people want to go. Okay, we'll work on that offline here out of the meeting. Okay, so we're all agreed that this is a good direction, and it's just a matter of refining this. And figuring out the permitting process. If I've summarized that appropriately, and we'll get back to you with any further issues and questions. Then I would suggest we can continue this hearing unless there's anything else we need to talk about tonight. Okay, oh yeah, anybody in the audience have any comments about this issue, this project? Okay. Fine, so we're gonna continue this to,
So 7:20, but we did the regulations at 7:20. We can continue those to the end of the night.
okay,
And we don't know whether or not we need to get confirmed that this has not expired.
oh, that's true too.
So
We
I
gotta
don't
be
wanna,
careful.
I don't wanna give great space to things.
Okay. Okay, so we'll do it to 7:20 with the other one. Okay.
And
And
what date are we talking about?
2 weeks from 2 weeks from now, does that work for you?
The 25th. 25th. Okay.
Yes. Okay, is that okay?
That works for me.
Okay, and Robin, does it work for her? I see she's here.
Robin, are you muted?
You are muted.
That works for me.
Okay,
Okay, perfect.
good. I move that we continue this hearing on amending the order of conditions for 3 Oldfield to July 25th, 2024 at 7:20.
Second.
Okay, somebody got it. Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Michael, I, Jacob,
Aye.
Terry,
Aye.
Courtney,
Aye.
and I think Kurt's back.
Aye.
Okay. Good. Looks good.
Okay.
Promising. I think we'll be able to work something
Thank
out.
you.
Okay.
Great, we'll
Nice
check
to
in with
see
you. Thank you.
Okay, bye. Okay. Getting back to our agenda. Let's see here. Okay, we finished all of our hearings for the night. Yeah, not too far off from what I might have expected. Okay, let's go to the discussions. We're starting with the certificate of compliance
For
for
53,
Farm Road.
Desheng, are you here for that? So, I walked this 53 Farm Road was the original lot 2. And this is the house, the new house on Farm Road that was originally 55. 55 is behind this house. So the site looks very good. They've put in the plantings, but there are several outstanding issues. Just saying, I met the homeowner out there, and the first one is that he had his landscapers out there, and they were actively dumping. I think they just started actively dumping grass clippings into the edge of the wetlands. So we stopped them and educated them on what can and can't be done, and they will remove all the grass clippings. There was a big pile of debris adjacent to the well of materials that the homeowner is not belong to him, but he's going to clean those up tomorrow. But lastly, when we put in the well, when the original applicant put the well in for lot 2 or 53 Farm Road, they laid down fabric fence and then crushed stone and then pea stone. And that was all supposed to be removed prior to, after the installation of the well. And when I went out and inspected it today, that wasn't done. There's a covering of leaves over the top, but all that crushed stone and pea stone and fabric is still down below. And that was put there originally to stabilize the ground so that the well rig could drive on it. And that has to be removed before we can close this out. And so I don't know how long it will take them to do that. I suspect the homeowner said he could get it done very quickly. But we would grant, this order is set to expire. So what we could do is grant them a several month extension or a month extension to complete that work and then readdress the certificate of compliance.
Who's Oh, okay, DeShang here representing the applicant.
Yes, I was not there for the site visit, but the owner did call me back right after he met with Joyce. So they already cleaned up the plywood and the lawn clips, and so he knows he can. I said that you cannot dump in there. You have to tear your lawn. I said that's why
Yeah,
that monument for. So they already
This was
aware of it.
brand new. Yeah, no, he and I talked about that. He was,
Yeah, he said just today, that's probably their one or second
Right.
cut of, like, so the extension, we probably need a little bit more. It's up to the commission, right? If it, so because the order did call for 2 growing season monitoring of all the plants. And so I know the woody ones already survived a good one, and the ground cover, especially the haze in the fern was planted this spring, and it seems like
oh,
they're
okay.
coming out. So we do have 2 years, as I indicated in my cover. So we are requesting, probably should be issue partial certificate compliance. They can get their occupancy permit, and so there will be needed 1 more year at least for the extension to get it take care of in compliance. So he didn't probably know for the stone, and I probably need to meet Joyce there and with the owner to understand to what extent do we need to clean the original well driller before the current owner purchased the property, because that was not I didn't know how, I was not involved in that drilling process, but so I was not aware of what kind of condition as the commission would require that restoration. So we probably need some clarification as far as the limit and the area to
we
to
can-
be clean.
Just for the sake of time, since it's getting late, I'll move on the fact that in essence, we would. So they need a partial certificate of compliance to deal with some
Yep,
other
we
permitting
can issue
issues.
a partial certificate and then,
So what would the
Well-
partial, so the partial would be, we would issue it saying that subject to that they still need to do X, Y, and Z? Is that what the way
Yeah.
we would?
I will do that, yeah. Subject to monitoring. And I will
Oh,
confirm the
Francis.
dates with DeShang for the monitoring and
Removal of
removal of
debris
stone around the well.
and the stone around the well and the debris, whatever other else. So we would have to vote tonight for a partial certificate of compliance. Is that the way we would go? And then we would have to do an extension. Does
Right.
that make sense? Okay. Brian Moore.
Hi, Brian Moore, 49 Farm Road. Good evening. So, we've been involved with this project for a while, and I just had a couple of questions. There was, as part of this original approval, I believe the delineation was done for several lots next door. And if I'm not mistaken, they built a construction entrance coming in off of the other lots. I think when you drive by, you see it comes down from up near the pond. That construction exit, that construction entrance for the house still exists and has not been picked up either. I was gonna mention the gravel and the rocks and stuff, but you obviously, Joyce already picked up on that. And the basis for the delineation, as we all know, we had massive flooding up at the abutting parcel, which might have changed those resource areas, the buffer zone for those resource areas. I don't know if it brings it onto the lot or not, but that's something to consider. I think it certainly puts the construction entrance into a jurisdictional area. And on the WPA Form 5, page 5, Section C, Item 1, I'm just going to read it right here off the form. It says, failure to comply with all conditions stated herein and with all related statutes and other regulatory measures shall be deemed cause to revoke or modify this order. And since it's been 3 years since this whole process began and we've been through multiple iterations, I hope that you might consider revoking or asking for a new delineation plan be done before you close this out, because, you know, things have changed so much next door and in the resource area that's on the other side of that house. I think you really want to understand where those boundaries exist so that this doesn't get leveraged into some kind of other approval when they're moving forward with other construction that they're either negotiating on or planning to have in front of this board in the not too distant future. And thank you. Those are my comments.
Okay, trying to understand some of it I guess as to the other side of the lot, I can't remember how far it goes to the east.
The construction entrance isn't on lot 2.
That's a-
It's off the site. It's on the next lot over, the next property over.
So it's not in our, so the part of it that's even on this lot is not in our jurisdiction. In any
Right.
case. So that construction entrance, I don't think is an issue for this particular permitting process.
Wouldn't the flooding have made that now a jurisdictional
No.
area?
No.
No,
The flooding.
because it
storm,
wasn't flagged?
We've redefined that isolated land subject to flooding. That's been looked at on the other property. And that's wouldn't come, and this wouldn't fall within the 100-foot buffer of that isolated land subject to flooding.
But just to clarify, is that the construction entrance is not on the lot we're talking about right now?
correct.
So then I don't want to talk about it in the context of this COC. We can talk about it in the context of another discussion item, but if the construction entrance isn't on this lot that we're going to talking about the partial COC, then I just want to focus on the partial COC.
And, right, and as to the delineation of, right, so I don't think there's any issue around the activity's been done within conforming with the delineation, which still holds up for the 3 years, and they're not proposing any new activity. So I don't think there's any issue about any revision of the delineation. Do you have something new to add to this, Deshang, or before I go to the next person?
No, I actually agree with the commission's assessment on the jurisdiction.
Just want to
as
make
far
sure
as,
that
yeah.
that you didn't have to feel like you had to go on. Mary?
Hi, thanks, Michael. Yeah, I just wanted to point out that the delineation and the NOI packages were put together for 2 parcels. One was 55, one was 65. 55 was later, after you saw it, split and subdivided. I do think that part of the construction entrance and the construction work is on what was originally 55, which is what's referenced in the WPA form, as well as what's referenced in the order of conditions, even though it's upper and it may have been out of the jurisdictional area at that time. So the parcels, when you reviewed them in the summer of 2021, were 55 and 65. 53 was split out of 55. So, you know, I just want to clarify that 55 and the NOI and all of the information you saw, sort of relevant to my comment about Greenwood, was made before you saw the A&R and you saw the new lot lines. So it's a little confusing. The other thing I would just mention is that there was an easement granted to 53, which creates a opportunity for stormwater management on future development that was not identified as part of the WPA form. And I do think that whether it's minor or large or significant modification, that is a modification that probably should be something that is noted. And I also would just say that in the expiration of the wetlands delineation, you may remember we tried to appeal the wetlands delineation. We were given wrong information from the Conservation Commission agent at the time around the date. And
'Cause
So,
that
yeah,
delineation question was again about the wetlands on the east side of the property.
right. And I would contend that perhaps this construction has created a larger wetlands area on that section based on what we've seen. So,
Okay.
you know, if construction or activity changes the wetlands, I think it's part of the WPA that, you know, you get to sort of relook at it. And I have no objection to the landowner and the homeowner, you know, being able to sell the parcel and get additional permitting, but I would be very opposed to, you know, an open extension that doesn't acknowledge the change from when you first approved it to when it, you know, the current conditions. So
Okay.
maybe there's a way
Good.
to, you know,
Right,
issue
no,
the
I
extension
actually-
on the growing seasons without saying we're extending the wetlands delineation for another 3 years or another year or whatever.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, no, right, makes sense. And also that easement issue is something. That's an interesting point. Joyce?
So I think Mary's right. I think there are two orders of conditions. There's one for the proposed wells on what was 55, and then they came back for lot 2, which was a separate lot using that delineation from 55. So it's not, 55 was the whole parcel that includes the house out behind, and happened to include the lot 2. But then there's also the order that we're talking about tonight is simply for lot 2. I believe
Did we close out the one?
they're probably gonna have to get a partial or a, I don't know, close out lot out 55 at some point, because that's going to be expiring also.
Yeah. So this
So
is,
I think there's
Right.
3, yeah, you know what I'm
Right.
saying?
yeah, I guess we have,
So all we're talking about is the lot 2 for the construction of the house.
which didn't include what the well was already done under a separate,
No, the well was done under lot 2.
I think Joyce, sorry, if I can, may I, Michael?
sure.
I think the lot, sorry, 55 Farm Road came before you and there was orders of conditions issued. I think prior to that, 65 Farm Road came before you and there were orders of conditions issued for that. I think there were some minor amendments that happened at some point in 2022, perhaps. But I do think that the 55 Farm Road order of conditions covered the well drilling because that was within the jurisdiction.
Mhm.
And we appealed it. We missed the deadline. It was adjudicated that we missed it, all that stuff. Then 65 Farm Road, which is another order of conditions that I think is on your agenda for tonight, is for a separate parcel.
Mhm.
But I don't think there
Mhm.
was a separate one issued for lot 2. I
There
know
was,
that
yeah.
I know that the owner, the order of conditions was transferred, I believe, to the new owner when the applicant sold the lot and the foundation. And when he sold that, the title included this new easement.
Let's see, how are we gonna resolve?
Complicated, sorry.
Yes, no,
So
no,
the
no.
easement was added after the mapping was done, so your maps
Yeah, no,
don't
no,
reflect.
I understand that. But
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what to do about some of the stuff right now, and we're thinking about what the easement issue is.
So the easement doesn't mean anything until someone proposes to do something with it.
The
Right,
easement is
can't
for
do- they can't-
discharge.
using it, but should
Yeah, but
be,
if they use it for discharge, it's a point source discharge directed towards a buffer zone. And that could be jurisdictional,
so does that mean that?
even though it's outside of jurisdiction.
So using the easement would trigger another permitting process, is what you're saying?
The
It could
discharge
trigger
is a
another
control
permitting process.
point in the stormwater for 60, for the 40B. They used
Yeah,
it
but
as
we're
an
not talking
engineered
about-
control point.
We're not
Yeah,
talking.
we're not talking
that.
about the easement right
An
tonight.
easement just exists. It's like, it's an imaginary thing until somebody proposes to build something.
But what we're saying is the protection for the wetlands is that if they propose to do something with that easement, then it would have to come in for permitting.
That's correct.
If it has any impact whatsoever on wetland issues. So the easement issue we don't have to deal with from our point of view at this point. The wetland, okay, but coming back to, I mean, we're gonna be coming back to whether we get to do a how we would do a partial certificate of compliance. If that's still workable, of how we qualify it, but then there's the issue of the extension. And whether we qualify to what extent we can qualify the extension. When does it expire?
I think it's July 17 or
Whatever.
something. It's very close, so we definitely need an
Before
extension.
our next meeting.
Yeah, so we need so put this way, as you all can go there. I think if the current owner did a great job, stabilize it, they saw it pretty much, so.
That's not the issue. I just wanted to
For the
know.
certificate, partial certificate compliance, so in a way, all the I mean, 90% of the work.
I'm
it's all
not
completed.
focusing on, I'm gonna stop you. I'm not focusing on the partial. I'm just
Okay.
focusing on the extension for the moment.
All right, so the order of conditions for lot 2, the lot we're speaking of, it was issued on November 8th, 2021. So it expires November 8th, 2024. So you've got a few more months on that. The other original well permit, the original order of conditions for the wells on 55 Farm Road was issued on July 21st, 2021, and that's the one that's expiring.
And that's the one where. Are we looking for a partial on both of them or just the one on the well?
So we can, well, I don't want to close out the one, because Mary is correct. Now that I've gone back and looked at it, the well was created on the first order, so we don't really want to close that out. But I don't want to give it a blanket extension, just long
Right.
enough for them to take care of the stone. On the lot 2 one, we want to give it enough time for monitoring of the plantings for at least one more growing season.
But we don't have to deal with that one tonight.
Right, so the well one, we could propose to extend it for a month for them to
Yep.
remove the stone.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
What might-
extend the other one for,
we're not extending the
We
other
don't
one.
need to extend it
I
at
don't,
all.
I'm sorry, that's
Yeah.
right. No, I'm on the wrong one, sorry.
So for the well one, now, do they need a partial certificate for both of these? In order to deal with a certificate of occupancy?
Do we even have a request for a certificate?
No,
of
we
compli-
don't have a request for,
Well, well, that will be interesting about the well. The well was not so we have a well, should be the same order unless
it's not, it doesn't, it's not the same order.
Yeah,
Whatever it is, maybe you applied for the wrong one. If you
so
apply,
I think at least tonight, the most important thing that we need to do is extend the well order for them to be able to clear out the stone and clean that up.
or if they clean it up fast enough, we have to do an enforcement order if we don't want to extend it.
Yeah, alternatively, we could, so the thing is, we don't have a formal request to extend that
Got it.
order. So
Right.
what we could do is issue what we've done in the past is a friendly enforcement order in order to clean up the stone.
All right,
Hold on, does that mean? So, but we're not being, but that mean we're
We
not.
still have to close out, at some point, they'll still have to close out the order, even though it's expired, it would be an encumbrance. So
Right.
At some point, they're gonna have to close it out.
people do that all the time,
Yeah,
but this is now on our radar, so we can say, hey, you should close this out ASAP.
So for the well, so what, the certificate of compliance was requested for what? The well?
for the other lot, yeah, the lot 2, yeah.
Not the well.
Right, and we don't need an extension, as Deshang pointed out, because it doesn't expire till November.
Right.
Do we
So
need it
they
for
have
the-
time
for-
to do that, so we can leave
Okay.
that be, and then we'll let the other one expire. And then I'll put
No,
together the
hopefully it won't
language.
expire. Hopefully they'll fix it
They
all.
can clean, it's right, they have until next week, Deshang, to clean up to stone.
Clean up
Yeah,
the
So they can get
submit for the
They
next
have
meeting.
until the 21st.
Right, no, I think we can handle the well cleanups, so,
Right.
okay, but I do.
Let's not worry
still-
about that. I
Right,
don't want to
we-
talk more about it.
But
That'll
we do
just
need
tell
an
me.
extension for the planting monitoring for just
Yes.
for the order of
Well,
lot two.
We'll deal with that later because we were
And
trying to,
you have until November, you can do it again formally, request the correct one, and then we can do that. We can't, the one that,
I requested the right one for the.
no,
for
I
the
know, and
house.
everybody just said, no, I don't need an extension, so we are extending it for, even though he's several months in advance, we're extending it through next, a year from November.
no, we only have to
Well,
extend
what's
it
the
through a
additional
growing season.
growing period? Yeah.
We only have to do it through a growing season.
Right, but if anything bad and you need to replant it and then you come in, you have to give a little flexibility, I mean, so.
Well, if they have to do some replanting, I mean,
Right.
we
You have
asked
to
for
work.
100% survivability of things, so.
Right, you need a little bit, flexibility, not.
So is there
to-
harm in going,
Yeah,
until
for lot two, there's no harm because they're not gonna do anything else anymore.
July of
because-
next year?
Yeah, I mean, I understand
No.
what. You growing season,
Okay.
you know, this thing need to give a couple of months into the growing season to confirm it.
Mhm.
Things are survived. And then if anything, need to replant it, so. I mean, I would say end of July, and I think it's probably, it's not going to cause any harm to anything. But if the house is sold, they're not going to, the homeowner is not going to do any kind
Okay,
of.
so
What's the point?
extending it whether to July or whatever. And that's what's been formally requested. We we don't have a certificate of compliance request. We don't have a certificate of compliance request for the well.
Correct.
That one you'll do next, hopefully it'll be cleaned up in a week and you'll come in and do it at our next meeting. So that we don't have to go through an enforcement order. Does that make sense for the
Yeah.
well? Okay, Get that
That's
done.
that's the best I can
Okay.
do.
now, for the other one, we can extend the things for the growing season. And to monitor that that in that case, the delineation of whether there's the Moore's issue of whether there's some buffer zone on the east side of the lot that comes from some resource area that's defined on the neighboring property. Was the concern that I heard, if I got it straight. And whether they somehow, if we extend it, that the applicants can do something on the east side of their lot that they shouldn't do because it's in a buffer zone. That has yet to be delineated, I guess, if I hear their issue correctly. And as of now, we sort of know where that, roughly have a sense of where that isolated land subject to flooding is. And we could see where the buffer zone is and whether it even extends onto this lot. And whether that's new information or something like that, in terms of that they would have to do, I guess, that if they're doing some activity on the other side of their lot, they would have to come back to us for a permit. If they're going to be planting and doing other things, no. So I guess I don't see an issue for us with regard to that. So that we could just so we're gonna issue a partial certificate of compliance. Subject to, so they can get the certificate of occupancy. Okay, are we all on board with that? At the commission level? Sorry to talk in circles. Duchesne, do you really have something new to say? Your
Oh,
hand,
no, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I think. it is.
Brian, do you have something new to say?
I just have one follow-up question, I'm sorry.
Sure.
So my question is, I believed, and maybe I'm not remembering this correctly, but the well was permitted with the commission along with other wells on 65.
No,
Okay, so it was permitted separate, Joyce, is that right?
yes,
Yeah, it's just for 55.
right.
Okay, thank
The
you
other
for
wells, the
clarifying
three
that. That's
wells.
very helpful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, okay. So I move that we issue a partial certificate of compliance. With the condition that, what do we do? We list what's still outstanding? How do we do it?
It's issuing a partial certificate to allow for the monitoring period for the plantings.
Okay. Partial certificate so that we can still continue to monitor the plantings. That's my motion. I got it right. For 50, what is it now? 53 Farm Road. 53 Farm Road.
And there will be a separate motion for the extension?
Yes.
So,
Okay.
yeah, this is, if you could just clarify that it's 53 Farm Road, but it's also lot 2, formerly 55. Make sure you get it all. No, it was.
Okay. I accept
get it all.
the amendment. Do we
Yeah.
have a second to that amendment? Okay. Okay, any further discussion? I'm not getting in knots. Okay, roll call vote. Michael, I, Terry,
Aye.
Courtney,
Aye.
Jacob,
Aye.
is Kurt still here? I guess Kurt's dropped off.
I don't see him.
Okay. 4-0, partial certificate of compliance. Now, we're going to, they've requested an extension of the same order. And that we're doing that solely to monitor the growing season. Okay, I move that we extend the order of conditions for 53 Farm Road, Lot 2, 55 Farm Road, formerly 55 Farm Road, for only the sake of monitoring and possibly redoing any of the plantings that were required.
Do you want to clarify that doesn't extend any confirmation of delineations, or is that not needed?
It doesn't, so they're not allowed, the only thing they're allowed to do is monitor plantings or replace it. They're not allowed to do anything else in the buffer zone
Okay,
without
so
coming back to us.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay,
What's the date we're
What's that?
extending it to?
oh. The end of next, let's see. The end of summer. So,
Shane suggested July.
okay, well, I just want to make sure, right, we
I
get.
know summer is better.
So if we go August
30th.
15th,
Sure,
So I'll second that.
okay, Bob, you have something new?
Yeah, I think it's new.
Okay.
I just want to clarify that there seems to be a lot of discussion about the delineation of the wetlands, both on 55 and 65. I've listened to a lot of it. And what I'd like to make very clear is that these delineations were made for market rate homes. And now there seems to be a great urgency to change those delineations or not have them be where they are now that we're in litigation on affordable housing.
Okay.
And hang on, Michael, I think I get a
Just
turn.
that we're
to
not talking
speak.
about the delineations. We're not talking about.
Jacob just asked if extending the NOI extends the delineation. And what I'm saying is that this focus on the delineation, why is the delineation need to change at this point in time? What's the urgency
Well,
about
we did not,
that?
so we did not, in the end, he asked
didn't.
about it, and we're not commenting on that. So therefore, it's not an issue right now.
Well, I believe if you extend an NOI, it extends the delineation. By the way, you can't partially extend the NOI and say the delineation's no good anymore, but we're going to leave the NOI open. I don't think you can do that.
True, and there's no new activity done under this notice. Since there's no new activity to be done under this extension, other than the vegetation monitoring and possibly replanting, the delineation can hold. It has no impact on what we're doing. So I guess, right, and we're only talking about the delineation on that one lot. And it does not include, right. Fine.
I'm not sure I agree with that, but that's all right. You guys can go forward.
Okay.
I think at this point is not, so the one, I think Bob had a valid point, and maybe other people can chip into it. To this lot, this owner is not really probably care about whatever the cost to change in any of it. That's a legal issue. I'm a wetland scientist, and I think I'm trying to serve my clients as to, okay, what he can do, and the commission clearly define what he can do. That's enough for my purpose. And I don't think we should go into any debate into that aspect at this point. So I think it's a.
Well, I don't want to try to get through this thing in a practical way, but there is extending an order of conditions does involve, right.
Why are we going down a rabbit hole? There's a house that we need to extend this order because they haven't quite finished with the planting stuff. And that's what we're doing.
And that's all they can do is monitor. Everything else, we're giving a certificate of compliance, so they can't do anything with the house, the driveway, grading, anything.
Alternatively, if we want to get through this, I'm gonna say something else we cannot extend it. And if the plantings don't meet the requirement in the second growing season, we issue an enforcement order. And we can drop this whole, whole extension thing.
Certainly.
Okay.
I mean, that's a little bit sounds like it to me. That's not
right. I don't need to
issue.
I don't want to hear nothing from you. I just want to hear from the commission about this. Because I have some concerns about when you extend the delineation and all the other kind of stuff. If they wanted to do something else and they say they have a delineation there and they want to do something else, and this thing could pertain to anything on the property. As Bob brought up, it's there. So I would say that I feel it's safer for all of us as for protecting the wetlands to not issue an extension and hope that the plantings meet it. And if not, they'll have to get an enforcement order, friendly enforcement order to fix it up. I guess we could deal with the completed certificate of compliance later. Does that make sense to the commissioners as a way of?
So I remember there's a list of reasons you can deny an extension, but I don't know which I don't see this as one of those cases.
This isn't one of those cases. So you can deny an order for several things, deny extension for several things, but not because we're asking to, to continue monitoring. That's not one of them. Because that
No, no,
would be
I'm
against,
bringing it up because it's a question of whether there's new information about a delineation.
there's no,
Is
I
it
know.
possible just to continue this portion of the conversation? We will have granted the partial certificate.
No, because it's gonna
Can-
expire before the next meeting.
it doesn't expire till
Uh,
November.
Expire till November.
November, okay,
It's quarter to 10. This discussion.
okay,
is
we're
going
gonna,
in circles.
okay, we're gonna put off this extension part. Okay, continue this discussion the next time.
Let's do.
Okay, fine. We're not doing that. We'll put it on the next agenda. And we'll, and when we're more, when we're less tired, we can sort this out. Okay, we're done with that item. I'm moving on. Sorry, DeShang, with your hand up. I'm moving on.
Michael, do we need to vote on the continuing thingy?
It's not a hearing. We don't need to continue.
Oh,
it.
Right.
Good question, though.
Okay, let's go to the 65 Farm Road request to extend the order of conditions. That I believe there's been some discussion between Joyce and Bob. And based on consulting with the DEP and the circuit rider, who helps us out with that, that given the new information on the resource area for the isolated land subject to flooding, that we cannot extend such an order of conditions. So that, and I think if I heard correctly, that Bob, are you okay with that thing there, and you would have to resubmit?
Well, the first thing I'd like to say is that you say there is new information, and I don't agree with that, because when this order of conditions was issued, when the NOI was issued with the order of conditions 3 years ago, there was a long discussion at several meetings prior to when it was issued, because it was raised by the Moores, and it was over and over and
I'll
over again.
stop you
Hang
there.
on, hang on, Michael.
Hold on, this is getting late, and I want to know if it's pertinent, because are you therefore wanting to, I just want to be clear that you want it.
I am suggesting that there's not new information, and that all I'm trying to do is build a one well 88 feet from the wetland line. Okay, that's what I want to do here under an extension of this order of conditions. And I don't believe there is new information.
So you changed it, and during the 40B process, that isolated land subject to flooding was modified based on observed conditions. The original work, as Joyce talked to you about, showed that that wasn't an isolated land that subject to flooding based on some calculations that were made, which turned out to be not, there's many ways to define that land. And the new information is that that isolated land subject to flooding can be redefined based on observable data, which has occurred since. So there is new information, and we are not allowed to extend it based on that kind of new information.
Then I guess what I will say is I'm going to object to your not extending it, but you can go ahead and vote not to extend it. I'm okay with that, but
Okay.
you should know that I am objecting. We're in litigation on the 40B now, Michael, and a really important part of it is the delineation of the wetlands, that you're about to say, no, we're not going to extend the delineation of the wetlands. And we're in litigation, and I'm going to object to taking away that delineation when there's not new information. All of this flooding was discussed at length before the NOI and the order of conditions were issued. And I'm fine. I get it.
You
Joyce
know,
and I
we're
had a
gonna have to agree to
conversation.
disagree
Hey,
on that. Okay.
Joyce and I had a good conversation. We're on the same page, but I want you all to vote on the topic because it's something that's in litigation at the moment. So I think there needs to be a vote.
Do you really have anything to add, Shang?
Yeah, I would just want to make sure even with the new information for the work proposed for the well installation part, it is still valid because that the well is outside of even the new the limit of flooding didn't really exceed the 2015 limit. It's pretty much more or less the same. So which was discussed at that time. So we just had another data to confirm it. So if you have a determined the limit of flooding, and then in the future there's another one is similar, the same thing, you consider that the new information? I don't think so, because otherwise people will have to redelineate FEMA's flood plan every year or every significant flooding, because that's
No,
not
it's
happening.
not that, it's not that kind of issue because it gets fixed at some point, and sure, things change over time. But we have the new information, plans were changed even back then. We can't deny that there's new info. You might disagree, but I feel as a commissioner, I could see what others feel as a commission, or Joyce weighs in, that there's new information that our job is therefore that we can't extend the order of conditions based on the advice from the rulings and the regulations and the policies of DEP. So that's my view. We'll obviously.
So
agree
Michael,
with
let me,
you.
I know what you're gonna obviously vote, and I respect your right to do
Yeah.
that, and you can do that. Let me ask you this, though. I want to build the well. It is 88 feet from
That's not the question. That is my
No,
issue.
that's what this NOI is about.
I know, but that's not what our issue is about the fact that we can't extend the NOI. It's about the new information about a delineation is nothing to do with what you're doing, for the project, and whether it would be permitted, even if we had, we might even permit it, even if we do another NOI, but we can't extend this one without the.
Well, so
without-
that's exactly my question. If you're going to deny the extension, what I'm asking is, we all know what's going on here. I'm proposing to build a very small number of homes. I want to build the well that was permitted under the NOI. And would it be possible to do an RDA to build that well at this point? I'm looking for the
I don't
commission to
know.
tell me.
That's a separate issue. I don't want to go there now because it's late and it's not like on the agenda in that sense.
Well, it is on the
Talk to
agenda
us.
because that well is on the agenda tonight.
The order of
So Bob, what we
conditions-
can do is once the land subject to flooding is out there, then we can take a look and see what the implications are, because if you recall, under the bylaw, there's a buffer zone around that. You and I talked about that. So until we see everything on paper, it's really hard to say whether it could be an RDA. You and I talked about this, or our notice of intent. If it's outer, then it can be, but
I mean,
Um,
the
so we
other
will-
thing I would say is that this is, and the commission, well, I think the commission all knows this. This is all long disturbed land. This is not
Okay.
virgin territory. We're not cutting
I'm
down
gonna
any
cut you off
trees.
because that is not relevant to this issue. As far as I'm
It's
concerned.
very relevant to the issue. This
no, it isn't.
NOI is about
Simply-
building this well.
I know, but okay, I've told you my position. I've heard yours. I disagree with it, and I don't think it's gonna go any better by going back and forth on the same topic, on the same issues. I'm not gonna change.
I'm
my
ready to make
opinion.
a motion, or somebody can make a motion.
Okay, so you're in agreement with the fact that we can't, that. the
I think we
information-
should just propose a motion and we can either vote it up or down.
Okay,
I don't know what further, what there is new information to discuss here, and we can have further discussion after somebody makes a motion and it's seconded.
I move that the request to extend the order of conditions of 65 Farm Road is denied due to additional information about an additional resource area that's not part of the current notice of intent.
Second,
Further discussion at the commission level.
so before you go, before you do that, it's so additional information regarding resource areas, is that what you said?
Yes. Or a resource area. Any comments from Jacob or Terry? I guess Kurt's not here.
It seems pretty clear cut given what DEP has told us.
Terry, do you have any?
I do not.
Okay. Roll call vote. Michael, I. Courtney,
Aye.
Jacob,
Aye.
Terry.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, Bob. Sorry we disagree, but we'll have further discussions about how to move forward. And you could start them with Joyce. And we can put it on the next agenda if needed. Moving on, it's pretty late, almost 10. We now have Cunninghams who have been patiently sitting here. I hope you've enjoyed this meeting. To talk about 58 Everett Street.
Actually, talking about the farms on Everett Street. I was asked to provide you with a quick overview of our concerns and requests, and I know it's getting late, but we've been working on this for months and very little has happened, so we came to you with this request. I'm speaking for the neighbors on the two farms on the residential area of Everett. I don't know how I got assigned to be the speaker, but I am. We understand, and we're actually proud that Sherborn is a farm by right community. And we know that noise, smell, visual appearance are not something that this commission can deal with because that just comes with living with livestock. But we are very concerned about water quality, and we're very concerned about it. This is a residential area with homes that are pretty close together, and we all depend on clean water from our wells. And we are there are two farms on the road, one of which is being decommissioned, which is 42, but the other is an active farm, 54. And so we're really concerned about our wells. We're also concerned for the wetland. These properties, my property, the property next door at 54, is surrounded on 2 or 3 sides by wetland. And so, you know, that wetland then filters water, which eventually ends into the Charles River. And the more pollution in that water, the harder it is for the wetland to survive without being overpowered. So our question is there pollution from these farms? And we don't know. We believe that they haven't been inspected for manure practices or offsets of animal enclosures from the wetland. We could be wrong about that, but that's our understanding. So our request tonight is that if possible, for a few minutes, Joyce could fill us in on the results of the first inspection, which we believe was focused on animal well-being, not on offsets from the wetland. We're strongly requesting, really strongly requesting, that an inspection of the properties, especially 54, which is active, be performed very soon. It's our water, it's our wells, it's our wetland that could be impacted by this, and impacted in a pretty negative way. There's a lot of livestock on at least one of those two farms. The inspection we're asking for should be focused on wetland and well protection. We know the other issues with farms can't be focused on, including the manure storage practices and the offsets of enclosures from the wetland. I'd also point out that it'd be kind of unfair to the farms, especially 54 Everett, Serenity Farm, which is active, to not have the inspections done and have them build out things and then have to tear them down and move them. So, you know, it's also a matter of taking care of they're very good people. We like them, but there are issues with the farm and offsets and manure storage. Now, I know they've been working on manure storage, and my question is, did they put it in the right place? You know, did they do all that work and there was no inspection and someone comes along and says, hey, that's too close to the wetland, you got to tear it down and move it away. So that's what I was requested to bring before Concom, and I'm sure the other neighbors, many of whom are here tonight, might want to say something as well.
Okay, no, they seem to be all significant concerns, and I guess maybe before other people speak, Joyce, do you want to give a status of where we are in this and what we should be doing as next steps? are trying to do.
Sure. So I did go out to 54 Everett and met the owner, who was very helpful. She had also been visited by the Board of Health. With respect to the manure pile, there was a manure pile that was located in an inappropriate place. And that was, by the time I got there, it had been entirely removed. And then at that point, she was trying to address getting the manure removed on a regular basis, contracting with someone to get it removed from the site. And at that point, I'm trying to get a site visit for the Conservation Commission. And as soon as I get that scheduled, everybody can come out and the commission can go out and visit it also. That, there are animals, Fred is correct in that the animals are penned up against the edge of the wetlands, and so that's something that we need to review and address.
Okay. Does, before
Other
I ask,
comments from neighbors?
what's that?
Well, I was just asking if any of the other neighbors here have comments, because
Yeah, that's my job. I'll let some of the other people speak and then some commissioners could speak. Joanne?
Okay, I'm not a neighbor. I'm at 58 Everett Street with Fred there. I know that this is more the emotional part of it. We are very aware that you really, it's considered frivolous complaints to complain about odor or sound or equipment or anything like that. And we totally understand that. I will say though, as a homeowner who pays really high taxes, we are not able to use our property anymore the way we used to. I cannot sit out on a back porch and read a book. I can't invite people over for a drink or something or hors d'oeuvres and sit on the porch. We've got a beautiful porch and a pond out there. Can't use those anymore. The smell is very, very intense. The sound is constant. There's something like 10 or 11 or 12 sheep there, and they are right maybe 50 feet from our property line. So it has really impacted the way we're able to use our property, which doesn't feel particularly fair. But, we understand that there's not much that we can do about that, except that I do think I guess the request that I would like to make is that Sherborn, and whether it's the Conservation Committee or another group in town, needs to maybe manage not just the wetlands, which is a huge part of it, but also where farms are located. Ours is a very small residential area with homes right next to each other. There are no large tracts of land for animals to graze on, as there are in many other towns, many other farms in town. And so our situation is very unique. And it seems that it would have been great if 4 or 5 years ago, someone in town had been able to sort of say, hey, how many animals are you going to put on this property? How many animals can it support? And do you know that you've got wetland here, and so on? It just seems inappropriate for neighbors to have to play the heavy and report people and bring them, in front of committees, when it seems like that should be the town's job. So we do request at least that there be a schedule, and that that folks, in wherever they have farms around Sherborn that are abutted by wetlands, that there be a schedule that those wetlands be checked on, maybe once a year, twice a year, I don't know. But by the time bacteria and stuff starts to build up in them, then it begins to create odor, and it begins to affect our wells. So that's okay. Thanks.
As to the noise and odor, right, I can't tell, right, the rules are about density of animals, if that's a sort of a Board of Health or maybe even a planning board issue as to what's an allowable use of land. But as to the wetland and contamination and pollution into the wetlands, that's clearly in our jurisdiction, and for the groundwater protection. So that's something we clearly focus on. But yes, and it's hard to coordinate. It's probably to some extent on the neighbors to talk to the other boards again and see what you can be doing about noise and odor, but I'll leave that there. Monica.
Hi, Monica Daly, 51 Everett Street. I'm right across from the farm.
Do you
My
have
question,
things on? You have an echo. I don't know whether you have two devices.
can you put yours on mute? Because I think it's, your laptop is echoing. Are you on mute? Are you on?
Oh, you can move from one screen to the other. No.
Just follow.
I'll move
follow-
over here. Okay.
Yeah, she's gonna get my spot.
Oh, okay.
I have two things, oh, it's still echoing, but one thing I'm not clear
Yes.
on, the bylaw.
There's still an echo, but maybe we'll,
I think you just have to
Your audio is off.
turn down the
That's-
volume.
You got it.
okay,
Am I good now?
yeah.
Yeah.
Close enough.
Okay, sorry, guys. The bylaw does talk about the impermeable container that should be for manure usage. I just want to be clear, is that something that is going to be addressed and implemented over at the farm across the street? Because they don't have one now.
Are you talking about the same property that Fred was talking or the other?
Yes.
Okay. I think that the manure that manure storage issue, I think is enforced by I think it's enforced by the Board of Health. We don't have that jurisdiction over that, but we do have to say where there's runoff from the way they're storing it, so we can try to, if it's in the buffer zone, then we can try to make sure that kind of stuff is enforced. So we can, in a way, we overlap, so we will be looking to see what it is that they're doing and where it is. As Joyce said, we have to go see where it is that they're actually doing it now and go from there, since they seem to be making some progress. And
That's basically
changing
Liz's
things.
request tonight, that someone go out and really do an inspection of it and measure things, and that's the extent of what I think your commission can do.
Yes, no, that's what we plan to do, because clearly, and sometimes it's existing use, existing lawn, that it's hard for us to, if it's grandfathered in, but certain uses like this, and whether it's really I don't know, what it's a farm or not, whatever it is, we have to do a site visit to go see where things are and see what the problems are and the proximity to the wetlands, what the condition of the ground is and such.
Request, yeah.
So, and I guess Joyce, we have to go, have you had success in?
No, I'm doing the letter route. I'm sending out a letter rather than go back over and just drop in.
Yeah, we've had some trouble scheduling something there, and we'll try the letter first. Or do we want to I can't tell if the letter is to bring her in, or I guess to first do a site visit. And then,
Have her contact us.
yeah. And then, and have a site visit, and then we can have a discussion here.
She was very helpful and was looking forward to the commission coming out, so.
Okay, fine. So we'll presume that she will respond to the letter soon. If she doesn't respond, we'll send a certified letter. If for some reason, to do that. And then at some point, we just can send something like it's a possible violation letter. We have recourses to go to, but it sounds like she'll probably work with us before we get to that point of that. Now I see three hands, or maybe it's really two hands. I'll let Jennifer go first.
I just had a question. I just had a question regarding, so is there never a pop visit? Like you guys don't have the right to ever just go and say, hey, what's going on here, and take a look before?
No, we have to,
Okay.
we're like vampires. We have to be invited to come in.
Yeah.
If
Yep.
somebody had a permit issued and that would have been written into their permit that we have the right to inspect the work.
Mhm.
But if somebody's doing something and, we want to go take a look, we can't trespass. We need to be invited onto the property.
Yeah, we end up sometimes we're standing on other people's properties and scrutinizing and such, and it gets, yes. So we're left with that. That's the way.
I mean, Our concern, so I'm Jennifer Stoner, 43 Everett Street, across from the farm that was existing for the last few years, and that is now not, even though it still looks like a farm, and it probably always will. I guess our concern is, that they don't go sell it and then sell it to somebody who says, oh yeah, you can do the farming that we did, because all of their sheep, all their chickens, everything was in a wetland, and it's no longer getting urine and feces in it, but it clearly was, they were doing everything that there was nothing that they were doing, I think, properly, to tell you the truth, and certainly no platform for the manure storage. And, so that's the concern now with the other farm, that they don't even have the basic, which is in the bylaw, of having that concrete platform to store, and their manure is right in the wetland. And, to their credit, they've, I think, removed it all. And they're doing the right thing, but, is the damage done to the wetlands and people's wells? That's our biggest concern.
Right. And I agree, we share that one, and it's a little late to go into the issues of, is it really a farm? It's not really a farm or an agricultural use, and what rules that, so. But we will come back to that one after we get the site visit and do our own assessment of impacts on the wetlands. And I see somebody.
Joan.
Joan, are you wanting to speak, or you have to unmute yourself? So we'll come back to that issue after we do that. Joan?
So you make the statement that they are not really a farm, and they're not a farm. I would wonder, what kind of a permit do they have to have so many animals living outside on a land of 1.77 acres plus including wetlands?
I have no idea.
What's their permit?
I don't know. That unless somebody else knows, it's not our jurisdiction, and maybe Courtney is a little bit.
So I just want to clarify that we're not stating like they're not a farm, but just under the wetlands regulations, like state wetlands regulations that we follow, there's a very specific definition for agriculture as to what is exempt from wetlands regulations and what is not. And so it's very different definition than, say, like a zoning definition. So we don't permit like the number of animals people can have. It's very specific to wetlands.
Okay.
And I guess I misspoke. I misspoke about whether it's a farm or not. That's not our area. We deal with whether land is under agriculture, with very specific regulations that we're required to adhere to. And I can't answer your question about the broader permitting about animal density and whatever.
Then to follow up what Courtney said, and I'm not a lawyer, but I read the Chapter 40, Section 13, Mass General Law, and they talk about what zoning can and cannot, local zoning can and cannot control in the state. And one of the things that it states is that local zoning, that zoning, a farm or agricultural property has to abide by the zoning, the wetlands and the wetlands laws, that you can't use the wetlands. It specifically states that, and unfortunately I don't have it right in front of me.
Yeah, so I can kind of give you like a simple, really like 40,000 foot overview. It's that the wetlands, the state wetlands laws and agriculture, basically when they put them into effect, they didn't want to put out of business any farms that were kind of already working in wetlands. So it was kind of like a grandfather clause. So if you were already farming in a wetland, you could continue doing that. And they have certain requirements for how it's okay to do that and how it's not okay to do that. But if someone wants to set up a new farm in a jurisdictional area, either near the wetland or in the wetland, that would require a permit from the Conservation Commission. And farm, in terms of an agricultural activity, it's not just, oh, I have some chickens in my backyard and occasionally I sell a couple eggs. It's a pretty specific definition about farming presently and primarily for a profit. And it's not keeping horses, and it's not just having a pet pig or even things like that. It's kind of a specific definition. So that's what we would evaluate if that ever came before us, in terms of like, is this an agricultural activity or not? We don't deal with zoning. We don't deal with anything in, that kind of arena.
Courtney, is-
So what you're saying is, as far as the Conservation Committee is concerned, that they can have 20 animals on 1.77 acres, and that's okay, because even if it's right next to the wetlands and part of the wetlands. And this just started over the past few years. This did not exist prior to probably.
So
20.
our question would be, is it having an effect on the wetlands? Did they construct a barn or some impervious surface? We have to look on the impact of the wetland. So like, that's what all this manure discussion is coming to. And is there fecal material running off into the wetland, that sort of thing. So yeah, that's why we really need to go out and like look at the site and make a determination.
Courtney, we're well aware of the jurisdiction of the Concom. And that's what we're asking for, what you just said. Come out at the wetlands, make sure they're not having stuff running off the sheep pen into the wetlands, stuff like that.
Exactly.
Stepped on your hand there.
Right, and we have mechanisms of violations and enforcement and things like that to use if there are problems occurring that we identify. Mustafa now. And you're muted. I guess it's Monica.
Oh, okay.
She stole my speed.
Oh, she's got his face.
I know you guys are playing musical chairs.
Yeah, no, I know it's late, and I think just final thoughts, like Joan was saying, the house across the street is less than 2 acres, 1.77. Having a lot of huge pigs, cows, goats, chickens, is just, and surrounded by the wetlands is a lot. But like you said, you guys are going to come out and check it. It's good to stay on top of these things because it sets a precedent. If one person, and we all support farms, and they are becoming more people are doing it, which is great, because we need, we all moved to Sherborn because we love the open space and the outdoors, but they have to be done right. And like I said, it sets a precedent. If like, hey, they could get away with it, or they, and then it doesn't work.
Yeah, we have the problem of enforcement and finding out when people do violations, since we have no way to, and to some extent, it relies on people. Not in a bad way, relies on neighborhoods to monitor what's going on. Joanne, we have something new, because this discussion is going to go on again soon.
I just want to ask a quick question. Can we make a request that once an inspection does happen, that we could find out what the results were?
Of course, we're going to have a discussion in public. Well, it'll be on our agenda.
Okay.
And since there's a lot of people who want to do it, we would probably try to see if we could schedule it where we could pick a time. So you guys don't have to sit through every single hearing that we have to fit in a discussion.
But it was such fun.
Sometimes we have gaps in hearings that we throw in a discussion. But
I learned all sorts of stuff tonight. I didn't know anything about.
Yes, but we will, since there's a lot of people who are concerned, we'll try to schedule it for a specific time. Might get slipped with something else, but we'll try to do that. And do you have a final word, Mustafa? You have your hand up.
That's my wife. I had it before.
Okay.
I know before Joyce visited the location across the street, there was a lot, maybe in my estimate was about 8 tons of manure right by the stream of 42R, which is next door. Just piled, and Mark told us that he saw it on the GPS when he had the camera on, and before Miss Hastings visited, because they knew she was coming, they hired a bulldozer and the dump trucks, and about 6, 7, 8 loads moved out. And she's still doing it right now. But the point is, regardless of how much she removes, the approximately to the wetland is, in my estimate, and I'm an electric engineer, I'm not a civil, but it is about less than 10, 15 feet from the stream. And
We'll have to look into that, because, right, obviously, that's why we have a buffer zone of wetlands, is to keep,
appreciate
is to
it.
do
And
the
that
filtration and to protect pollution.
we just
of the wetlands. So
we
we'll
just
have to see what we find there, and what's possible to do, what we can.
we worried about the contamination of our wells,
Sure.
because the urine seeps, whatever seeps into the water is going to go to the groundwater, and we will not be the only one got hurt with that contamination. A lot of people, because we all have one water body that serving all the neighbors.
Yes.
So that's all we really request and appreciate your visit to the location, and we thank you.
It should be interesting. Let's put it out.
Yes.
Well, I'll
I'll
close
leave
it
it
down.
at
I can close this down, Michael, because I don't think there's anywhere more we're going to go tonight.
That's my feeling is the moment, and it's late.
But the neighbors appreciate that the Concom listens to us and let us speak, and that some action is going to be taken. We just really appreciate that, because it's taken a while to get beyond neighbors working with individual people and getting to finally commission. So thank you all. I know it's really late, and I appreciate, and we all appreciate your focus on this.
Thank you. Yes.
You're welcome, and it's our job to do this. So that's part of it's what we signed up for.
1018 is your job.
Yes, and we'll leave it at that, and we will be revisiting this. We'll let everybody know. And is there, if there's any reason, could we, since Fred, you spoke first as a thing, if we had any issues we wanted to communicate, could Joyce send you an email that you would then pass on to everybody else, or anything else in case?
Absolutely. Somehow I ended up as the lead, so I'll keep that job.
Good. Yeah, you seem like a reliable guy. So we'll hope for the best. You guys can all complain about him later, especially Joanne.
We will.
On that lovely note, we're ending this discussion. And I'm going to come back to the commission and say, and Joyce, is there anything else on the agenda, or can we adjourn? I don't have anything on the agenda.
Joyce is speechless.
Speechless.
Sorry, I thought I
Meeting
didn't
has
realize I was
left.
muted. No, I think we are done.
We are certainly done in many ways. On that note, I move to adjourn at 10:20.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Thank you.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah.
Roll call vote. Terry,
Aye.
Michael, I, Jacob,
Aye.
Courtney,
Aye.
and I think that's it.